entombed for 3,000 years, wrapped growing in me. I have lived an eternity, suspended in darkness. Release me. Condemned and bound, the sands of time have run out. Curse fills the room, curiously open my tomb. Rising from the cradle of death, my sentence has come to an end. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me, release me. My curse is your curse, death is the gift I bring. Revenge in my hands, I feel no remorse. This is the mommy's curse. Release me, release me, wasting and running. Release me, release me. Sirens of the Caspian Sea, the depths of the ocean we gather in splendor, sunken ships and treasure, luring sailors with our songs, hypnotic hymns, promises of bliss, whirling and twirling. The warmth of the ocean, spinning with souls in motion. Take caution, my friend, this could be the end. A mermaid's tale, your mortal soul frail, following ships in the night, catching glimpses, but can you trust your sight? In the water your blood will spill, swirling and twirling, the warmth of the ocean, spinning with souls in motion. Take caution, my friend, this could be the end. A mermaid still, you're mortal, so frail.
From long ago, the berserker traveled, crossing raging seas, snatching souls, devouring, conquering and beast. The seas could not take me, war could not break me, to feel so alive, overflowing elation, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war. The lands could not hold me, the ocean could not keep me, though she tried. I traveled and conquered many times. Exhilaration swept in with the tide. Oh, the seas could not take me, war could not break me, to feel so alive, overflowing elation, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war. Hunting for food and pleasure, I am now witches unknown. I rule in life, I rule in death. Viking warrior, I am the beast, rising ready for battle. I fought my best, exiled to faraway lands, shape-shifting into one is more fitting. The seas could not take me, war could not break me, to feel so alive, overflowing elation, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war, ready for war. I see the barren beat, eye to eye, we become one, prowling in hunting, devouring you. I am the Bear King.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Bubblicious Fisheye. Everybody knows that. Thought about changing my name from that because that nickname has been around for a while. Something similar and something just as catchy.
Bubblicious Brown Eye.
How about Hubba Bubba Bubbles Time?
I think people like Bubblicious Brown Eye better.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think that you need to get your mind out of the gutter. That's what I'm going to do.
Everyone else's mind is in the gutter too. I'm keeping them company.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah.
So, all right. So here's what we got going on tonight. So we have a guest tonight, and I know that everybody's just been asking a lot of questions about the show we did on. Was it Tuesday? It was Tuesday's show. I had a lot of questions about it, a whole bunch, and some of that might be answered on Sunday. We might talk a little bit more about some of those questions you have. Maybe we can answer some of them. Maybe we can't. Who knows what's going to happen? I know this. I know that I left people with a teaser of a story, and that's the one that everybody's curious about. If you go back before Sunday, okay, go back and listen to the Dogman Rake connection, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Interesting person we met a couple nights ago, or last night. We met somebody, and we were at the gym, and we were talking, and we talked to two or three different people, but one person, we didn't have a very long conversation last night, but today we did. We had a pretty good conversation, and that person got me on the phone with someone who claims that their parents, get this, their parents are witches, warlocks, whatever, and they were part of a cult that could summon these beings. And when this person was sick, they said they were 6, right? 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That they witnessed them because they lived near a swamp, and they were out in a swamp in Louisiana, and they witnessed someone change into what they call the Rougarou. She also claimed that she witnessed these beings come out of this primordial ooze, I guess you could call it, that looked like they were alligators standing upright, and they morphed into people. And that these things are literally controlled. Now, I posted a video. I don't do a lot of video posting or on the main Paranormal Roundtable group, but this one was interesting. I'd seen it before, but it was of a guy being attacked, and then this like entity comes out of him and attacks the guy, and then goes back into the guy's body. It's because there are a lot of people who claim that these others, they attach themselves to people. Where are the comments at? They're not here. They're there. And so that's what they do, and that's how it works. Now, I personally can't say 100% like, hey, this is exactly what it is, because I'm just a person that somebody Okay. So I'm somebody that has had my own experiences, but I have no way. I mean, I can't tell you one way or the other that that's 100% how it works. I just know that that's what people are saying. That's what they're talking about. I'm going to bring on my guests.
Headphones.
Let me get the.
I got headphones. What's going on, brother?
Bryan Bowden, folks. Bowden.
Yes. Bowden, or in the north, Bowden down south, but still the same flavor.
How do you say it, Brian?
How do you
I actually go by both. My daughter gets upset because mostly she was known as a Bowden, but down south because of Bobby Bowden, which I believe is a distant somewhere relative. She's like, no, it's Bowden. I'm like, no, actually, it could be both.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. I don't give I have older and younger brothers and cousins, all B's. So I literally was playing golf the other week and told the guy 9 times my name was Bryan. He kept calling me Steve. So I was Steve. I don't give a shit. I don't
What about the Appalachian way of saying it?
Well, some people like to
Burden.
call you something else just so they can get under your skin. I mean,
yeah. Dude, I'm so, like being a big guy, you're like, oh, look, a fat ass. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Thanks, Captain Obvious. Like, move on.
Yeah, well, you have a dad bod,
Yeah.
or you're husky until you piss them off, then you're a fat ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, husky. I remember that shit growing up. Like, he needs a husky. I'm like, oh, I'm partial to a bull terrier, but sure, we'll get a husky. You know what? It's depending on the day and what I'm dealing with, like real life world shit. Pardon the expression, guys and girls, ladies, but I don't care. Dude, I used to. I'll go up and I have friends of all cultures, all races, everything, and they always want me to do an open mic, and I've done it a couple of times. I've offended everybody, and I don't care. It's jokes, and if you want to come at me, go for it. I'll come right back at you. The problem I have though is my youngest daughter I raise, so she's like me.
Yeah.
and it's really cool because she's very intuitive, and she's like, she knows stuff. The things that come out of her mouth, man. When she was 4 or 5 years old, she told me that she would, I was with your grandmother before I came here. And I'm like, oh yeah. And she I said, oh really? She goes, yeah, she's a really nice lady. I said, yes, she is, because my grandmother was more of a mother to me than my mother. And she never heard of my grandmother, saw anything about it. I didn't have pictures. And she goes, yeah, but she does this annoying thing with her mouth. I'm like, oh, she does? Yeah, what is it? She goes, and my eyes like,
wow.
Yeah, my grandmother used to hum. It used to drive me nuts. So the only way she could actually know that is if she was with my grandmother before she came here.
Brian, that's interesting because my cousin Paige and we live out on a ranch, and we have a house here in town too, but we have a ranch out in between Taylor but we have cousins that live in the back acres back there, and it's a 78 acres, but they have part of it. And my cousin Paige, her children have very, how would you describe them? Intuitive? I don't know.
Sensitive.
Very, psychically sensitive.
Yeah.
One of them, Hagen, I'm going to get her to come on the show. I'm trying to set it up to where she can get a time when she's a full-time mom and a full-time job. But I'm going to try to get her. I got to get her on the show because Paige would be an interesting guest. And she has a story to tell. Her son, Hagen, told her that he was in hell. Get this.
Really?
And that, and his story is very interesting, that Jesus came to him and took him out of hell.
Right.
And fought with the devil, according to what he says, and that the devil let him go, but that now the devil sometimes will come and try to visit him, but then Jesus will come and visit him too. And
how old are these kids?
Hagen now is what, 5?
I think he's older. I thought he was like 8.
No, he's not 8.
Well,
he's like,
but they've been doing this since the beginning, right?
No.
Like,
he's like 6.
Oh yeah, no.
Hagen's
He's probably 6,
5 or 6.
Yeah,
I think he started first grade this year. No way he's like 8 years old, dude. I don't know how you got that. He's really young, but he was talking about this when he was 3.
Well,
so Paige would have to come on and talk about it, but it's very interesting. And now the other one, Lucas, he says that sometimes demons will come into his room wearing masks, and he says this.
I'm absolutely believing them. I'm okay. So how I operate, and this is the fun part about me, and I talk. I'm like, I had this conversation with my youngest daughter. I'm basically a human lie detector. So when you talk to me and you tell me stuff, it plays out in my mind's eye, like I can see it, and I don't have to use my eyes to see it. Your mind is like, it's like remembering any scene in a movie, whatever, or something you experience. So it plays out. I see all the characters, all the parts, everything that's taking place. I even see all the mini nuances to it. And then if you tell me something and it's not true, I see black. Now, I don't call this out on people because, we hang out with friends, and, people want to, like, they tell a story and then someone wants to one up, so they'll make some stuff up. You know what I'm saying, right?
You be rubbing people the wrong way, left and right.
Yeah. Well, you're with the guys, and that's cool. It's, it's fine because they got nothing else going on. But I mean, when people come up to me and they tell me stuff, I've done readings for people. I do a lot of free stuff, like, pro, whatever it is they call it, pro bono.
Pro bono.
Oh, the ladies are here. And like free. I'm always there to help people. That's what I do. I mean, I'm helping people, but I do have people that pay me. And I see it, and I see what they're talking about. I see their situation, what they want to know. I tell them everything. And the best part about this crap, because I'm always second guessing it. I'm a science guy, so I studied astronomy and physics, thought about being an astrophysicist, and I said, no, I don't want someone else owning my stuff. So, I always try to use the scientific method, right, in this paranormal crazy field, if you can, because not every case or every situation, even when you go on investigating, is the same. It's not like it's coming from the left, going to the right, and sits there for a minute. So you kind of can't replicate stuff, right? When you're saying what you're saying, I'm seeing what he's seeing. I saw hell. I saw what it looked like.
Yeah.
And I saw what was taking place. There is something about them. These thank you. My pleasure. I'm available. Parties, whatever you want. So, and I'll be at the conference. So I will be at this conference in Missouri coming up in September. But my gut, my intuition, my experience of doing all this and the extra special stuff, there's a reason why Jesus is coming to help them. And they're a lot more important than you think, and they're not just children. They have a purpose that is very important coming in their lives. They could be the people that really save this planet, and there's no way, no pun intended, in hell Jesus is going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Understand? So they're going to send Jesus, they're going to send, and it's that fight between good and evil that we constantly are seeing right now, right? Because evil's on their heels at this point. There's a lot of light coming out and a lot of good stuff, and they're trying. They're gonna, they're throwing. So it's the 10th round, and they're like a minute left till the end of it. So I think what they're saying is true. There's no reason for them not to. The age alone is like, where are they getting this from? My daughter, both of them, I have two daughters. When my youngest was there, he slept in the bed between us for almost 2 years, and we had to have a light on. And she would look in a mirror and look at like she's seeing something. And I noticed it, and I know she's seeing something. I can't see it. So it's like these kids, this is good stuff, and they have important information. They just don't realize it yet.
Yeah, when he was born, I thought he looked Paige's mother, which would be how we're related, is her aunt is married to my uncle, so we're related by marriage,
right?
But I've known her entire life, and at one point, even though Austin's a big city and it's got like 12 high schools or whatever it is now, just in Austin, not even counting the out, there's a lot of people here. Her and my nephew, my adopted son Zane, they ended up
Texas, by the way.
There you go. Texas, and Buc-ee's is awesome.
I'm actually going there on Sunday in the Florida one, but keep
really?
going. Yeah. I love Buc-ee's.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm gonna work there one day.
it's like I don't know, it's an experience. People say it's not a convenience store or a truck stop. It's an experience.
It's a pilgrimage.
Yeah, it is.
I may not need a cutting board in the shape of Florida, but God damn it, I'm gonna go get one.
But so Paige she went to school. She's the same age as Zane, and they went to school together here in Austin. And so I remember her being like always getting in trouble like Zane, but not as bad. But she would, wouldn't do her schoolwork, whatever. Then she graduated, and I was like, "Congratulations, kid, you made it." Yeah. But she really panned out. She's a really good mom, and she became one of my favorite people. And so, kudos to her for making it. But her mother passed away when she was like, I think, a few months old, like 6 months or something like that. And so she died right before Christmas, going to see her dad. She was headed to see her dad. Her dad, they have a different. She has a different dad than the other kids in the
Right.
family. She has 3 siblings, and so the siblings actually stepped up and helped raise her. But also my aunt Beverly, shout out to her,
Right.
helped raise her. But she has stepped up and she took Lucas in. His mother had gone and gotten in trouble, and the state was taking him. So she ended up stepping up and helping raise him. And so Lucas is not technically her son, but Hagen is. And Hagen looks like her mother. I
Yep.
mean, you look at a picture of her mother, because I remember her mother before she passed. I was a young man when she passed away. In her mother, she looks like her, like very much like her, and it's so weird, like our Hagen does. And then there's Coda, who's a little bit younger, and he says weird things too. Um, the house that they used to occupy, we're currently staying in that house, the one that they used to
Right.
live in. Now they have a barn dominium where they stay in. There's a room in the back where the boys used to stay, and they were always saying that there was weird stuff in there. Now I haven't had anything happen, but my brother has had some weird stuff happen, and then not around that room, but I have until recently. I didn't have anything happen until recently when I saw something go by the window, and I looked again, and it happened again. And then today, I don't
Right.
know if you noticed this, Anthony, but I had something happen today. So I know these boys weren't lying. They were saying that something was knocking on the wall. So
Oh yeah.
so I woke up today to that, and I thought, because we had a handyman come out there yesterday, because this place that we're staying at, the place itself is not. We're not going to keep it. We're going to knock it down and we're going to rebuild something else on there. It's just the land, you know. But the handyman came and he was looking at some of the stuff, like what it would cost to fix the deck and all this other stuff. And so I thought that he had just come back. His name's Sergio. I thought he had just come back and was working outside.
Hit
So I
the
thought,
door,
what the
right?
heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought Sergio must be outside working on the deck without even, like, this guy's a go-getter, you know? And so I kept hearing this knocking, and so I wake up, and I went to bed at 7, 8 this morning because I had to work last night. And then I'm like, I'm exhausted. I get up, and my wife's not even moving. She's not even noticing this. And I just hear this banging, 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 and then it's on the other side of the house, and I'm like, what is he doing? So I walk out there, and it must have been a sight to see because I'm holding a firearm and I have no shirt on, and I don't know, because you're way out in the stick. Yeah,
Just went out today.
I mean, you're out in the sticks. I mean, you have to be.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
got
I'm
to
not like a
carry.
gun nut. I'm not on the
No,
toilet
you have
reading
to
guns and
carry. It's
ammo.
just in this day and age,
Yeah,
it's your right. Do it. You know,
I mean, you're 20
practice.
miles out in the sticks. You got it. So I go out there and I'm walking around, and it's funny because I see my neighbors. That we have some neighbors but they're kind of far off. But they were walking around out. You could see them on the phone walking through their front yard's almost like an acre and a half, and I could see
Yeah.
them. And I was like, and they saw me with my shirt off and a gun, and I just waved. But it's the country. You're out in the middle of the country.
Welcome to
every-
Texas, everybody.
yeah, everybody out there just like, well, hey, something must have happened. Maybe he's going to
Seriously.
shoot a varmint. It's like something's
I mean,
out there.
Hog,
And I was
whatever.
puzzled because I had just heard the banging, and I go back inside, and I'm like sitting there going like, what the heck is that? Now this happened to Anthony the other day, the banging.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what it is, and I can't tell you
It's
what
the
it
land.
is. It's got to be. It's got to
It's
be
the land.
something is going on there.
You got two things going on there. The land. You got some old family spirits there that are, doing the protection thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're keeping some darker things away. But every
Good.
once in a while, the darker gets a little bit more energy because your past not feeling well. They're trying to suck your energy out. So I was going to suggest that when you do build something, consecrate the ground,
Yeah.
and you may want to get a lot of salt.
Yeah.
Just to, like sprinkle it around and St. Christopher medals or whatever, put them in the corners, before you
Saint
drop
Benedict.
that stone and the cornerstone, and then build upon that and only welcome the family and the love and the light,
Yeah,
but you're
absolutely.
fine. I mean, it's not a bad thing, and I'm not getting a bad vibe. It's almost like a pain in the ass vibe.
Yeah.
Like someone wants to kind of give you a, just play, just get, it's bullshit, and you're protected. Matter of fact, from what I was when you started talking about family, I looked and I internally I got a family tree chart. All of you, even though you said this is not my, that's someone else's mother, but they married, they had a baby with this other person's my uncle, and this before we all came here, and before you guys came here, you're still the same crew that was up
Yeah, you agree.
in
You're right.
heaven.
Absolutely.
And everybody has a role, and like all of us, even like you and I have met, and we're supposed to meet. We're there's a connection beyond this earth that people just don't wrap their minds around. They've lost that connection to God and God and Jesus. Some people that believe Jesus is God, and I'm not here to argue, but I believe of God, his son, thereafter. We're all sons and daughters of him as well. And there is a real deal here, and you are meant to meet certain people, and some people that were your best buddies up there that sometimes you become, like people you want to just throttle down here for whatever reason. They're doing it based on what is supposed to take place in your path. Okay. And you may not like it, and you may get up there and meet like person X that you had a problem with, like, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why you went through that experience is because you had to get to this point in your destination. It's really messed up. Okay. There's, the 4 cardinal signs, right? Aries,
Yep.
Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn.
Mhm.
So in November, I think it was the 19th, was the end of a 15-year period of crap, like major crap for the cardinal signs, where you go a little, you take 3 steps up, take 2 steps back. It was like an EKG off the chart. It was never always good. And that cycle ended, and now we're in a new cycle, a new 15-year cycle. The other half of me, all these people are not coming back to a certain job, and she's upset about this, and things are changing. And I'm like, welcome to 2025, folks. The shit's going to hit the fan right now. There's going to be a lot of change. Life as you know it is not going to stay the way it is. And, and she said, like, is it going to be good or bad? And I'm like, yes. Yes. I mean, that's the honest answer, because yes, it's going to be good for some of you. If you're in a bad relationship and it's going down, and one person's like, I can't do this anymore, then they're going to move and they're going to evolve, right? This is what we talk about when you raise your frequency vibration. And then some, and they're going to be happier and been still a bit hurt. And then someone's going to get hurt. You can't have happy without sad. And this is what you're talking about. Like, this is what you've been going through. I mean, I don't remember your birth date, and I'm not like one of those astrology gurus or whatever, but I can tell you right now, there are no coincidences, which we know. And after she said that, I was just remembering to look up the cardinal signs because I wanted to copy it instead of, type it out. And when I looked at my phone when that happened, I had 555 on. So I'm seeing a lot of numbers now. I'm seeing 1111, 444,
1111, yeah, 333.
Yeah, okay. These are angel numbers. And 555 means you're on the right path. Change is coming, and it's good for you. And you're going to you move on. You be creative, you move on. And that's what it sounds like you're going through right now. Like you went through that, and now it's not going to be easy in the beginning. It's still going to be a little bit harder, but it's going to slowly dissipate. And that new house that you build, it's going to get better, and the life's going to get better. And all this, the drama you've been going through, and all the crap you've been going through, which I see on the sidelines. And I got my own stuff. So, I'm there with you, and I support your brother. It's going to get better. It will. But some people, I mean, it's going to be tough for some people. They're going to, it's called karma. and it's
Yeah.
coming.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I can't.
Yeah.
It's been nonstop with some of these people. They don't. It just I wake up to it, and every day I'm being told,
I
this
couldn't
and
deal
that.
with that. I would kill somebody.
It's so hard, dude. And then they're like, he's gonna go to jail, and all. I'm like, why am I going to jail? I didn't do anything to you. Get out of here, man.
What am I going to
sitting
jail
here-
for?
Yeah, what am I going to jail for?
Yeah,
For and it's every day. Like I wake up every day. It's taken its toll on all of us, on Anthony, on my wife, on Abe, Maddie, everybody involved, and Blondes and Booze has been messed with. We've all been messed with. We're really just sick and tired of it. Everybody just wants to move on, but these people, you got to understand something though. They don't have anything. They don't work, and their version of a show is the Chum Bucket from SpongeBob. So I mean, that's
Patrick. So they're here.
Exactly.
They're here, right? And their frequency's down here, and they're hovering, and you guys are like, and they're never. See, this is the problem that's going on in this world, and it's going to be really difficult for people that can't get past it.
Yeah,
it's frustrating because you're moving up, you're breaking that, like you're moving into another, what they call it, dimensions, 4th, 5th, 6th, and they're stuck in the 3rd. They're stuck in my ball, my game, and you don't give a damn about the game nor the ball. I'm going home, or I'm going to write a book. Like, how many books you put out already?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've written 4, but 2 are published, and now because we had a witness that was the book about MK Ultra, and that was that one was, yeah. And then I had another one with Nick Redfern, but Redfern left to go back to England because of the situation with his dad, and then he just kind of left me with, yeah. And so I don't know how to finish it. I don't know what to do. I'm looking for some answers on that one. So that's time consuming when you take time to do 2 projects and then that you can't do anything with. They just kind of sit there. So, but the vampire book should hopefully be out by March, hopefully, or the end of it. Because I want it to be good. I don't want to just release it and just be like, oh yeah, this is it, just another book.
No, it's once you start writing. I mean, I have a couple of things coming out. I have a book with Ron Murphy coming out, and it's going to be pretty interesting. It's been my fault because I've been moving and life has thrown me, like just like you, man, some major freaking curveballs. But it'll be coming out, and then I'm going to piss people off because I was going to do a Dogman book. I've had stuff, my notes and whatever, and then I have my Bigfoot stuff, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm going to save it for the book, but I'm going to piss people off with what I'm proposing. And I just want to say for everybody out there, yeah, I'm boots on the ground. I've been in front of this creature numerous times. I've pissed in front of this creature, not because I was scared, because I had to pee.
I know the whole story.
Yeah. I don't like the dog man whatsoever. I really don't like this creature, this being, this thing. But it's got to be done. And when I say what I say, I'm going to get crap. But the whole thing is, unless I physically have a dog man in my possession and a Bigfoot in my possession, and I could sit there and do experiments, right? Everything and everybody that's out there that takes that goes in the woods, takes pictures, camps out, whatever, gets samples, it's all conjecture. It's all hypothesis, and anything's possible. So, I started off flesh and blood, gigantopithecus for Bigfoot. And then I had some really intense experiences, totally changed that, and I don't understand in this. Well, I guess if you've only had limited experience with it, how people are so adamant, like flesh and blood, it's flesh and blood. Yeah. Well, you were talking about something, the Native American stuff and what is the skinwalkers, right? And, the Navajo Nation, and the Navajo police that deal with this stuff. There's a special, group that deals with it. I've seen some pretty incredible things of a man who gets cornered behind a rock, and the next thing you see his eyes, you see little, and then the next thing a wolf comes out and stops and stares at him, and has those same eyes, and that guy's gone.
Wow.
How do you do that?
You
You
know,
talk
there's
about
a
magicians,
couple of
right?
stories I wanted to throw at
Yeah,
you. And one of
sure.
them is mine. I mean, we were talking about my property. I was sitting dealing with these people. I was reading some of the crap, the twisted nonsense that they come out with. They came out with some manifesto. One of them's like, "It's me. I'm doing this. I'm the boogeyman." Like, I'm like, bullshit. You're not the boogeyman. You're
You
just
got
some
other
moron.
things to do, brother.
I got other things
Ooh,
to do than work, you know. And so
I'm
while I'm
scared.
looking at this negativity, I really I thought it was a person at first. I see somebody walk behind. I'm sitting in a Ford Explorer, you know, and they're not super high off the ground. Mine's not, but it was tall enough to where it went behind it, and I didn't see the head, and I was like, "What the heck?" And then I look, and I see this shadow dog thing. This is the night before last, and it runs behind the vehicle, and I was like, "What the hell did I just see? What was that?" And so, then I realized, like, thank you for that donation, Tito.
Yeah,
Always coming
that's
through
great.
for me.
30
We
bucks.
appreciate that.
Awesome.
And so I was sitting there going, like, what in the hell was that? You remember that, Anthony? And then when you and Nellie came to the vehicle, I was like, I just saw something or someone I thought walked behind. And then I thought I saw a dog-like shadow. But there's a precedent for that because a lot of people that have lived out in that area from there going toward Apache Pass have claimed to have seen something very weird like that. And I have a bevy of stories out there that you could just, I mean, bunches of them. And so this person that got in touch with that I got in touch with today, I struck gold with that one because she claimed that she had parents that were doing nefarious things, right? And
Yeah.
out in the swamps, and she saw these things coming up to the house. And then I had another. Okay, so here's another one. I want to throw this one at you. There
Sure.
is a legend or story. It's out of the Devil's Backbone here in Texas, not to be confused with the one Martin Groves wrote a book about in the LBL. This is in Texas. If you ever go watch the episode of Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack, right? Is his name?
Yeah. Robert
So
Stack.
Robert Stack, and there was a guy that claimed that he had been possessed by the supernatural spirit of a wolf. Okay,
I know what you're talking about.
so I know there's a guy named Jason that I used to hang out with years ago, and we call him Spike. His dad was a police officer in DFW for years, and he was telling me when we had this weird thing happen to us, we picked up a guy who was a hitchhiker who, to this day, myself and my brother believe was a ghost because there's no way in hell. The whole thing, it's on one of the episodes that we've done.
Right.
So he was telling, he introduced me to a guy years ago who we became friends. And this guy, I don't remember his name was Jeff. I can't remember. It started with a J. But anyway, he told me something very weird recently. He sent me in an email. He said, he goes, I was out hiking around the haunted valley in the Devil's Backbone. He claimed that and now this is going to sound like, oh, obviously this is why it happened. But he said, he goes, I was smoking marijuana, with this,
Yeah.
with his girlfriend. She had cancer. She passed, right? But it was medicinal. So, he smoked with her, and he says, I don't really smoke, but I did it with her. And she was not a smoker before the cancer.
Right.
So when she was passing, that's when this whole thing, but he claims that years ago, back in 2008, that they camped out there and that a wolf came up to their tent, a giant wolf, right? A blackish gray wolf, and spoke to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard so I think let's break this back down a little bit.
Okay.
I think but the Navajo weren't the only ones. Navajo created Skinwalker, or that was based on their stuff.
Yeah.
But there are other groups that have a similar legend.
Shapeshifter, yeah.
Shapeshifter, and a lot of this involves that witchcraft or doing nefarious things like god awful stuff, necromancy, and you know what I'm saying. Like you have to commit such a sin against the good that you encompass all the evil. That's
Yeah.
why these beings are really, really dangerous. And when they come around, they're hungry or they're curious. They're looking for something that's an easy prey because they don't want to go through the whole fight, right? They're looking for easy. So I believe what you saw was not a skinwalker,
No.
but another shape-shifting entity that has the ability to mimic and then alter itself. More I'm going to say interdimensional beings because they're part of the land. They're part of the law. Before you were there and the Mexicans came in and and there was a fight and then there was indigenous. It's all part of that.
Yeah. The
And
Comanches.
yeah.
There.
And some of the sacred rituals that they would do, some of the medicine people that are involved in this, and they would teach it because they would break you down on the tribe of who's the who are the hunters, who are the medicine people, who are the healers, who are this and whatever. And the line goes a long, long way. So you're seeing something that was trying to make a presence or curious what's going on with you, and that change is legit. That's very skinwalker-esque, but it's not as dangerous as a skinwalker. You understand?
Yeah.
So that's that end of it. But what yeah, I know what you say when people said, "Oh, you smoke weed and that was a hallucination." High school, I was a freaking chimney. Loved it. Loved it too, and not like it was totally different than the stuff that people have today. I mean, like you guys are crazy today. It was just enough, and you could be very creative, and it was almost like you get into a good zone. It's not a chill or Cheech and Chong thing. It was not a laughing thing, and it was no delusions to it whatsoever as hallucinogenic. It was more peaceful. It was kind of very zen. And I don't believe that everybody that smokes it has hallucinations. Okay. Even the medical stuff, which is really good. I don't do it anymore. It gives me migraines, but I have no problem with it. There's a lot more positives to these natural things than the negatives. But you're talking about in Devil's Backbone, there was a transform or a wolf that presented itself, an extra large, and was speaking to them. That is like a Native American or indigenous, whatever you want to call them, part of their folklore all the time. A lot of times when that's a messenger and they're speaking to you because I don't know what it was in a relationship and I don't know the full message. And that's may not be my business. But that was a message for them that something was going to happen, or not like a bad omen, but preparing people. Sometimes you get a message, hey, it's going to rain. You may want to start building a boat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you don't get the message if we're got everything going on during the day and you're stressed out because you just read this text message from a jackass who is accusing you of doing X, Y, and Z, and you're going to miss the message. But if you're out by yourself or with your girl and you're just chilling and everything's feeling better and you're not pressured, and then you see a freaking like ginormous wolf come to you and say, X, Y, and Z, you're going to remember that, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. I'm sorry about the guy's, girl. But maybe that could have been like, it's going to happen and it's going to happen sooner than you think.
Yeah.
Maybe prepare yourself. Sometimes people get messages via dreams. That's the best way to get them, because when you sleep and you get into REM and alpha and theta waves, that's, in my opinion, when we all connect back up to source.
Yeah.
Call it God, whatever. Now we get downloads and information and tasks, but sometimes the only way we remember it is via dreams, which are vague. You know, it's like, I think it was Josh and I, and we were out and we were riding ostriches and we were doing, you know, it was something weird. That's a vague message. That's not really the message. But some people wake up, like I have these as well, where you wake up and you can tell every damn detail of what's going on in that. And that's because, and you're even more tired than you went to sleep because you were up the whole night. Not physically, you're lying there snoring away, but the important part of you, your essence, your soul, your consciousness, you were working to the point where, I got in trouble because I had an experience at night. I was in the like biblical times. Jesus, I saw two Romans basically waterboarding him, and I went, and I don't want to get in trouble because people are like, "Oh, that's sacrilegious," and I went there and I stopped it, and I said it was wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Pulled him out of the water. He was staring right in front of me. I can give you the exact detail of everything. The closest thing to what he literally physically looked like, the shape, the jaw, everything, is the Shroud of Turin.
Really?
Very, very close. Very long. And he had these eyes like a thank you. And I'm just like, this is wrong. This has to stop. That's how it ended. And when I said it to people, I get it. We're in the deep South. And I I'm a God-fearing man. I'm an ordained minister.
Yeah.
Okay. And they said Jesus wouldn't need help. And my comment is, and I'm not here to fight with anybody. Yes, he did. If one person stood up.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And that's why he died for everybody else not standing up and their sin. So, you got to look at the bigger picture. Yeah, Christ can take care of himself. Actually, Yeshua, let's call him by his real name, but I felt it was an incredible experience. It was like a religious experience while you were, resting in bed. You're supposed to be sleeping. I can give you the details on what these soldiers were wearing, every aspect of it, all the ornate stuff, from the shoes to the garment to the big spears. Unbelievable. So, that's sometimes how you get messages. I get these things also, and I know, like, I put it out. I put stuff out there. Josh, you think you get problems? I got a breadcrumb people because I'm on the watch list. I mean, they're getting me on memes that I put out in 2008. Okay. Wow. And it went from 24 hours to 4 days to now 70 days. 70 days. Not that I care. Social media, who cares? But I have to breadcrumb. And people give me crap for breadcrumbing. And I'm like, why don't you just give us a link? Well, sometimes we don't have links to things, right? Sometimes you're watching certain resources and like, okay, there's no link to this. How am I going to, and you just report it and then they give you crap. Well, where's there a link? So anything in mainstream media is what you believe. And if that doesn't come from mainstream media, then it's suspect, right? I mean, you're foolish. So when you get a message and you get a wolf talking to you, it's pretty intense. I have a guy in Florida. I'm good friends, a great guy, Bigfoot researcher and investigator, born and raised in Florida. They're on a something very similar. They're out in their spot on the west coast of Florida. I've been out there, and they're doing their investigation, and one person has this like FLIR object, infrared, or and she goes, "There's a huge wolf out there." And what are you talking about? And he said, I've seen wolves before. I've seen coy wolves before. This thing was ginormous. And he said it was the weirdest thing because it was watching him like purposely, when you like someone's watching you and they keep your eyes on you, and the thing started coming at us. And I said, okay, one of the guys is a former cop, and like, give me your gun. It was like, no one had a gun. So they crapped themselves at that point. But I think they were getting a message, at that point from something else coming in. Like, Don't be here. You don't want to be here. Right? So I think your friend got a message, not that they don't want to be there. I would love to know what they heard or they were told, because that would be really interesting, and then see what happened unfolded thereafter.
Well, one of the interesting things is, and I'm going to talk about that story on Sunday, so I'm not going to give
Sure.
away a whole lot of it, but when she passed, he went back out there in 2009 and he had some experiences and he saw her out
Oh
there.
yeah.
And he believes that the wolf was, and I do too, and I have reasons, but that it was a medicine man that had been in that area and had passed away. And he just chose to use that form, and that he roams around out there. Now, they're not the only ones that have seen it. There's a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
who've seen that. There's been books written about it by Bert Wall. But my experience with some of the people that I've talked to who've seen anomalous things, Spaniards, Mexican soldiers, seeing Confederate soldiers wandering around out there. I mean, they've seen people that looked like even older, like maybe from, French trappers. I mean, Comanches, Apaches, and the natives don't all look the same. There's different ones, there's different kinds, and they see these things. And there's been people that have seen lots and lots of Bigfoot reports. Certain areas like Purgatory Road, there's a goat
Right.
man out there. They've seen the black dog a lot, and then people that have seen lots and lots of dogmen. So that whole area is a hotbed. And in fact, I saw the same UFO 3 times, real close together. One of them happened when we were going down Purgatory Road, entering the Devil's Backbone, and I look up, it's broad daylight, and I saw it. I've seen it 3 times, and every time it was broad daylight. I have not seen a nighttime UFO.
Right.
I've seen orbs bouncing around, floating basketball-sized orbs, but not that. And
yeah.
another story that's going to come out on Sunday too is another one. There was a girl that says that she was asleep at a cousin's house, and I found a story that was very similar. It was in a group, and I thought I had heard it before, but I went back and her name was Cecilia. It was 2 different stories. So I tried to reach out to the one person. I didn't get a response from the group. It's usually hit or miss from those groups, and I don't have to go to the groups now like I used to get stories.
Right.
But every now and then one will catch my eye, and I'll be like, I'd like to know. And that one's going to come out hopefully on Sunday too. But it's her. Basically saying that when she was staying with some relatives, that she was put in a bedroom with her little sister, and there were no blinds,
Right.
and she looked out the window and saw like this ball of light bouncing around. And when she looked out of the window, this happened like in Iowa, the whole field was just full of these orbs, and they were trying to tell her in her mind to come outside and go and play with them.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, and then the next day there were crop circles. There was a actual, not a big one, but like a crop circle, and it looked. Here's what's weird. It looked like a yin yang. And she's like, I was like, 9, 10 years old. She's like, I don't know. How would I know what that is? I'm like, I was a little kid, back in the 80s. She's about my age, but she said it was mind boggling because they didn't notice the crop circle deep out into their whatever until the next day, which would have been the day before Thanksgiving. So it was like a couple days later. And she's like, and then they noticed they went out into the field and they noticed it.
Yeah.
And so it was a pretty amazing story. But that story, and the things that these things say, I'm going to get into that on Sunday. But, you wonder about this. Like, to me, the spirit world is very real. It's very tangible. It's just right there. And so many people just dismiss it. And then they want to say that Dogman and Bigfoot and all this stuff is just all flesh and blood creatures running around. And like you, I started out believing in that nonsense. And everybody was trying to convince me that what I saw was physical. Before my friend's brother, I would say he's my friend too. So I would just say before my friend, not the one that was with me, but his brother, told me and Anthony in December of 2019, which I believe was your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
It was on your birthday that day. It was like December 19th, 2019. We were there, and he was showing us a remodel that he was doing of a house notoriously haunted. The man had took his own life, right? And so he
Right.
told us, he's like, I saw this black vapor type stuff come out the back of this thing's neck. Well, when he told me that, I was like, kind of like, what? Wait. I was like, so I said, Junior, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Like, you saw he's like, yeah, there was like this black stuff coming off its neck. You didn't see that? I said, no, I didn't. Probably because I didn't really get a look at the back of its neck. I was looking
Right.
at that claw on its foot, and I was looking at it from the side profile mostly, and trying to keep my distance from it, as I kind of was walking over, and then I ran, whatever.
Right.
And so I was like, no, I wasn't really observing it like that, but he saw it because you remember how the kitchen window where it used to be for the remodeled house?
Yeah.
And it was, we knew it was 7.5 foot tall because of how high up it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, Junior said, he goes, I was standing there looking out the window, and it walked right by him, kind of glanced at him, and he kept looking. He said his mouth was open, almost panting like a dog, but the vapor coming off the back of its neck. He said that to me, you, Anthony. And we were just like, and so when we were driving back to Austin, I told Anthony, I said, he has never told me that. I did not know that. It was years. It was 29 years of me not knowing that, and he goes, well, you never asked. And he's right. Like, when I interviewed everybody, I actually didn't really interview him because I just thought everybody saw the same thing, but they did not see the same thing.
Yeah.
No. And
Angle,
whenever
right?
his mother talked about the story, she told that story to Scorpion. I don't know if he's in the chat. See where they're at. I don't know where Scorpion and D are to moderate. But Scorpio was there. D was there. My friend Willie, who passed away in 2020. And then my friend Jerome. We were all there. And she told that story. Yeah, it was a few years before she had passed away. And she said, I'm going to tell you this. She goes, I don't like talking about it. But she said that it was like a greenish, she remembers like a greenish color. Not that it was green, but she goes, I don't know why, but I just remember like there being like a greenish glow in the air. And that was something that she was specific about. I didn't see that, and no one else did. No one else remembers seeing that. But when you see something that looks that weird, it just kind of, everybody's just like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's a freaky thing. And I remember like sitting on the couch and going like, this thing was still tromping around out there. Now, years later, one of the police officers that responded to that told us at a barbecue cook-off that he had encountered these things before, and that this thing was definitely out there, and that he believed me. Of course, he'd been drinking, and he was now retired, and he was a pretty gregarious guy. I liked him. He was a really cool guy. I would have been, if it wasn't for that particular cop. Yeah, and I don't want to, because his sons and daughters are still around. I don't want them to make him seem like he's a weird guy or whatever. But I got in a lot of trouble when I was a kid, and he and another police officer cut for me, and they said, we think he's a good kid, and they told the judge, look, he hangs around with the wrong people. Okay. They looked at my, that I was an honors student. I was in honors classes and advanced placement, things like that.
Right.
And so the judge she had mercy on me, and she was known as being just a battle axe. And she did not throw me in the clink like she could have. She gave me a reduced sentence, and then I did this court order boot camp thing, whatever, and then they seal your records or whatever.
Right.
But it was all for fighting and vandalism and stupid crap that teenagers do. But yeah, I was a hellion, and I don't deny it. I don't make any excuses for anything in my past, but this police officer, he told them, hey, take it easy on him. He's not a bad kid. He's just had a rough upbringing, and so that was very appreciated. And he seemed actually genuinely proud to see me sitting there, an owner of a security company, on the right side of the law, and so he told Scorpio and my friend Jeff that was there. He told them, well, Jeff used to work for us, and he told us, and there was another guard there too, and a couple other people. But he said, look, he goes, he had been drinking. And he was retired, so what, It's the barbecue cook-off. It's in August. Everybody's having a good time. And that night, he said, look, he goes, I've seen these things. He goes, and he's the one that told us that there was more to it than meets the eye. He goes, there were many people that seen them. He had answered reports, of these things. And of course, he couldn't just put on the report, wolf-like creature on two legs running around. He had to say, perpetrator or whatever.
Right.
But he confirmed for me and everybody else that was in the audience there listening to him talk, not audience, but we were all around. I was sitting on an ATV, but he said, he goes, these things are real. I've seen them myself. He goes, and so the episode, I believe, is like Werewolves of Texas or Texas Wolfmen or something like that we did. But that part didn't go into the book. And I had a long discussion about that with Ken Gerhardt and a couple of other people. We were going back and forth about whether we should put that in the book. It would have been the last chapter, and it ended up being clipped. Now, I don't know if that's right, wrong, or whatever, but I felt like it might have been too controversial because of what this officer was saying. He confirmed what I had already heard, that this stuff, him being a rookie cop in the 60s, going into the 70s and in the 80s, he had seen a ton of stuff. So by 1990, he was already well seasoned and had been around for a long time. And I think he had been a cop already for like 20 something years by the time that happened.
Yeah.
He was jaded. But one of the things he had said that there were some people who were unalived because he was YouTube. I don't know how but they were, and one guy looked like he'd been torn apart, like shredded beef, his words. And Scorpio was there. He can attest. He said that it looked like he'd been put through a blender. He goes, and they said, oh, well, this guy must have gotten into a fight. He goes, a fight with what?
Yeah, exactly.
Like what? A grizzly bear? I mean, he goes, and then and this is a little bit of racism too that went on, because predominantly the people that were seeing this being in that particular area of South Taylor, which is one side was Hispanic, this side was black. It was the black area. So where the African Americans live, the police officers were told, oh, don't, because, there was a rowdy little area there. And it's not there now the way it was, because back in 1994, they did this thing called Take Back Taylor, where the citizens literally took to the streets and marched and had these places taken down. Yeah, it's a really cool thing. But they were a bunch of crack houses and stuff, and they were like, who cares? These are people on drugs and drinking and doing whatever, and they're shooting dice, Nobody cares what these people are saying. But what they claimed that they were seeing was a gorilla-like being with wolf-like head and legs. Sounds like a werewolf. Sounds like a dog.
It sounds a bit like a dog, man.
Yeah. And so there was a cotton industry was big there. So when these the cars would come in from the train cars, these people were being found dead. So they kind of said, hey, they're not being killed here. These rail riders, or hobos as we used to call them, they're not dying here. They're coming in from some other county already deceased. It's not happening here. And so when one of the police officers kind of pushed and said, yeah, I think this happened here, the county officials were pretty adamant. They were like, no, it did not happen here. And the guy was like not kind of getting it.
Yeah, it didn't happen here.
Yeah, and this police officer, he goes, I finally grabbed the guy and I said, yeah, it must have happened in another county, like Travis County or something. Maybe that's where it came from. So we don't have to talk about it having happened here. So there were 3 or 4 different murders that had taken place. One guy was found, obviously, it was a body that was found, and it was found in the ground near the railway station. There was a roundhouse there back then where people don't realize that they used to have these little houses where people that worked on the railroads would stay.
Right.
My grandfather was from Cuba, was a Cuban Mexican. He stayed. He was from Chicago, and that's how he ended up down here. Was a rail worker, and so I have a little Cuban in me too. Yeah, but he was convinced at that time that, and he used to say this, he said that there were murders being taken place and they were not done by a human. He never came out and said, well, it's a werewolf, but he did say that a lot of people believed in these werewolves. And the legend grew from that as this
Right.
story. Yeah.
So you know, and I know, you know, on the Latin side of this world,
Mhm.
you're going south, not just in not the non-Italian side of the Latin side.
Which that's truly Latin, but yeah.
Yeah. It is truly Latin, but they have a healthy respect for not only the god and the angels and the other icons that go with it, but depending on what you practice, there are other beings that they know about
Mhm.
and they fear. And a lot of these are shape-shifting. I like to call them the darkness or black figures, or you know, like the black hat wearing guy,
Mhm.
shadow people. Sorry. Um, and yeah, on the dogman scale and that werewolf scale. See, the difference for me, in my opinion, is I don't think dogmen in general are transformers. I
Mhm.
think they're actual different, genetically same, a baseline of something, and then certain deformities create whatever you want to call as the types. Okay.
Mhm.
Then there is another creature that is kind of on a different, in a different zone, that does look like it's huge, massive, like you were saying, Bigfoot, gorilla, whatever, dogman type of head. And those hobos would never see it coming,
Yeah.
because it's literally doing this in the shadow. And they're doing it for food purposes. Some of them, in my opinion, are doing it for just the pure enjoyment of it, because there's an evil component to it, a
Mhm.
negative component. That's why, like, when you get into the two separate parts of town, and you said on the black side there's crack houses and they're selling drugs, and they're not going to see this because they're already in that zone. They're already, it's like an energy source for negativity,
Mhm.
right? Whereas on the Latino side, they may also have some things going on, but they're a little bit, they fear certain things of, it's not the underworld, but it's kind of like the spiritual realm,
Yeah.
you know,
They're
like,
already very
yeah,
superstitious and,
like,
you
yeah,
know, yeah.
like Santeria, and what is that? The Del Morto,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
which balances like a
Santa
little,
Muerta.
Santa
Saint,
Muerta.
yeah. So they practice some of this, and some of the I don't know if they're saints or beings or whatever they are invisible unless you are gifted or part of that medicine person realm, or the priest or the high priestess, and they see them, you know, when they leave the cigar there with the rum. It's not
Mhm.
a joke. You know, this isn't major league, you know, screw you, Jubu, you know, Jobu. You know, this isn't
Yeah.
Jobu. This is the real deal stuff. And one of those beings is, in history, described almost like a werewolf. And they can be a werewolf.
Yeah.
They can change their form and present what they are. So I was having an argument with one of my buddies. He goes, the moment, they're in the moment. They're not in interdimensional. There is something called the moment, which is, it just exists. It's the ether. It's kind of like when you have a deja vu, you're tapping into it. But there are also part of it that can travel or use a little bit more energy and make them appear to you and get you scared. They want you scared. And all this stuff has happened, like when you mentioned that area where all these people have seen it, and they see Native Americans, you see the UFO and all that stuff.
Mm.
I will guarantee you that there are portent lines that are crossing like ley lines. There is material in the ground, like minerals and certain things that act as a battery or a storage for energy. Plus, there's stuff above it, like almost like where a portal would be. And I would also wager that if you had the ability to excavate that entire area, what you would see below the ground, deep in the earth, is along the lines of like a giant black pyramid or an energy source. And this is where these things feed on, come into, because it's like Grand Central Station for them. That's why the UFOs are there. That's why you get the residuals, because whatever's going in and out of, first dimension, second, third, fourth, whatever, life, death, they all use it. That's their causeway, and
what you're talking about is interesting, Brian, and that's why I like having you on. I mean, you've been friends for years. I remember me and Brian, by the way, used to be in this group, right? And it was sort of political. And this one guy, he was always razzing Brian, and he goes, and I would always jump in and defend Brian. Brian would defend me, and then he's like, "What do you two sit next to each other in the dungeon?"
Yeah, we do.
And I was like, "Yeah, I'd rather sit next to somebody that stinks like me in the dungeon than in some high castle and be full of shit." But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Get a good seat down there,
Because we were like on the same page every time. Brian was like, he would put into words exactly what I'm thinking, and I'm like, who are these idiots that can't see this? Like, how?
Yeah, I'm a good guy. I'm a good guy, and if I become nice, I'm a good guy. But I get to a certain point with I don't have time for your shit.
Yeah,
tell it like it is. And like I had an issue with somebody, and I went to try to call them, to text them, to voice, nothing. They didn't want to deal with it, so I went public with it, and I got some people. He's crazy. I'm like, no, this is how I roll. This is part of the Russian in me, man.
Well, people want to, after they want to vilify you, and if it's not sticking, then you're insane somehow. Or you've lost it or whatever. And it's like, no, you're just tired of people's shit, man.
I just tell it like it is. And in this round on this planet, I don't want to come back here. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have an opportunity at this point. I know I do. I don't have to reincarnate. I'm good. Yeah. And and it took me a while to get to the point where it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not getting angry about it. Let them go. Whatever.
So what you were saying here, Cielo Azul just said, anyone seen Anubis? My husband did 3 times by his bedside. Please contact me, because that is a whole thing. And I was just going to talk about Zolotl, because Shapeshifters and Zolotl are both Aztec deities. One is a wolf-headed deity. The other one is a jaguar-headed deity. And people see these too. My friend who was down in Olmeca was talking about these people seeing both the chemosats, and they were seeing this jaguar-looking creature in the jungle that looked like Shapeshifters. He corrected me. I finally figured out how to say it, because I was calling it Zype or Zippy. I was like, how do you say that? And he's Scottish.
Yeah.
So I'm asking a Scottish person how to say something that I should already know, being Hispanic. And I'm like, how do you say it? Because I don't speak.
No, it's that old culture, that language. It is so complex. It's just like really, it's like that couple of words in like German are like super long, and you're like,
how 5 words mushed together.
Yeah.
Obergruppen
Sturmbannführer, and you're like, holy crap! You got to say that to somebody and then salute them. Give me a break.
Exactly.
No wonder they lost. They're too busy trying to say each other's titles.
So they saw both of them.
Yeah, no. There were people seeing them around the same area, not the same place. No, but they were seeing this, and so. Chemosats is this crazy bat-like creature that beheads people, and Shapeshifters does the same thing but he uses either his claws or he'll use an obsidian ceremonial knife. And there was a cult around Shapeshifters further to the north where he was at, not in Veracruz, in another state. And they were doing things, and people were seeing it. because they had summoned this thing. There was a guy out here in Kerrville. He was his family was from Finland. He didn't have an accent. He was born, came here when he was 3 years old, but he grew up here. But his parents did, and they talk like Finnish people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me, he says, dude, you know, I did a ceremony. This is back when he was evil. Like, he was really bad.
Yeah.
And he was buddies with my brother because they were into this black metal and they were both satanic and all this shit. No offense, I'm not trying to bring up anything bad about my brother. My brother's right there. So there's my brother right there.
We all make some mistakes here and there. And
yeah, he converted to Christianity and became a better Christian than me. But he literally was friends with this guy, and the guy's name was Dax, and he was a really cool guy, but he was on the dark side, and he admitted that he had made a mistake, and he had summoned a goat-headed creature that was now terrorizing his house. I need to tell that story because I recently got in touch with one of his former band members that went to school over here in Georgetown at the Texas State in Georgetown. And he told me, he says, and I had just by chance, I saw him on, you know how the Facebook tells you somebody you might want to be friends with. And usually you're like, I don't like Michelle Obama. I'm good. But then other times they're like, hey, maybe you want to be friends. I'm like, I know this guy. And so I recognize him, and he's a very unique looking person. And so I said, oh, okay. He's got this big potato head. Mm-hmm. So I teasingly, I called him Big George. And so I said, George, you had this big potato head. I remembered you. So we started talking. And so I said, whatever happened today? He said, well, he moved back. He moved to Finland to live and be there, whatever. And so he went back to his roots, but he used to be the curator of the museum there. And so this guy and me became friends, and we reconnected a few months ago, which was cool. And so he had told me, he says, dude, I saw this creature. And then he told me the whole story. He was staying with him at the time when this creature was coming to their house and terrorizing them. And he goes, I said, did you have anything to do with the ceremony? He goes, I was not into any of that. Absolutely not. He's like, but I did hold a book and help read some stuff. And I said, Georgie, you participated. He goes, yeah, but I didn't believe in any of it. I said, but you still participated. That's why Dax and you and Carl had all those problems.
I didn't have anything to do with it, but I had something to do.
And he was like, well, I was just in the band. I didn't believe in any of it.
And I didn't rob the store. I was just driving the car.
And so my brother was like, oh, that's badass at the time, you know. And I was like thinking, this is not badass. This is not cool. This is not something I want to be a part of. But then around that same time, we had a guy that used to come in our chat, and we haven't seen him in a long time, but I got a hold of him. Anthony knows who I'm talking about. He swears up and down that his uncle did a ceremony, same area. And he said that ground is just full of energy. And so when his uncle told him that, he goes, I could shapeshift, and him and his friend witnessed his uncle do it, and it scared the living crap out of them because they saw a partial change in him, and they ran out of the garage terrified. But he said, dude, he was running around out in the woods as a wolf being, you know. Now, I do believe that there are these beings that do live within the earth. And I think that they are actually that way 24/7, whatever. But there's a shape-shifting element, too, that tends to gravitate towards certain animals, bears and you know, down
Eagle
in
or
South
crows. Crows, owls. Wolves. Yeah.
Wolves.
You know, when you get into the Netherlands, right? You get into the original culture there. They did do ceremonies. And before going into battle, like Vikings, you know, they have the berserker, and they are summoning and gathering this energy and bringing this thing to life to give life to it. And when you keep doing it in a certain area, or like you said, like where your friend's father did it and shape shifted a bit, that area it stores the energy there. It's like it becomes like secret ground for that specific type of negative and element. Before we were here, before God created the heavens and earth and all that other stuff, you know, when it was void, and there were things on this sphere that have been here for millennia. Beside the jinn, there's a lot of evil.
Yeah, there was the Jan before them.
Right. And then you get into these shadow beings, and that's a nice way of saying, but they're all negative or dark beings, and then shapeshifters, and then there are battles within battles. This is why there's culture. Like when they were talking about seeing Anubis,
Mhm.
my personal belief, can't prove it. First of all, the Egyptians didn't create the pyramids. They happened
No,
upon them.
no.
Okay.
Mhm.
Those were created a boatload of years,
Yeah.
decades, millennia before.
300,000 actually.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Egypt. There's reasons why there are pyramids all over the world, and they happen to be very similar in construction. And there were certain elements that are no longer there, because when you happen upon something, go, hey, is that gold up there? Okay, we're gonna take that. And you take it apart. It's like coming up against an engine and go, this looks like an engine, but someone took the starter from you. You'll never get it to run. You don't know it's an engine, right?
Mhm.
So I believe there were beings. They were like what they call gods. Like these gods. Anubis and who was the it was like the bird or the owl god or whatever they are. Right. So all these things there was a races of these type of creatures or beings that were here long before us. And some of them weren't killed off, just like some of the giants weren't killed off by God in the flood. Some of them went and escaped that, and they continue to, they don't rule the top of the soil, but a lot of them rule certain aspects of in certain dimensions. I had a buddy on my show who's a good friend of mine, an astrophysicist, and he's talking about 12 dimensions. He believes there's 12, like NASA, right? So just imagine this. Like, we live in 3, 4, length, width, height, and time, and whatever it is. Once you get into certain dimensions, you're not even be able to see what they have there.
No.
So these beings, they play in a totally different field than everybody else.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like when, I don't want to use a comic book for example, but the reason why Superman is so freaking strong is because on his planet, he's an ET, on his planet, he's maybe average, but when he comes down here, he's like, oh my God, nothing stops this guy. Same principle with all these creatures, like Anubis. Anubis very well. I have a feeling he was alive, and I don't believe he was a dogman, but I do believe there may have been byproducts of Anubis, maybe created. Who
Mhm.
knows?
There's multiple.
Um,
I think that maybe he could have been a high priest of some kind, which was really just a scientist. And I mean, this is just a theory. And somebody had talked with me about this before. It might have been Garetano or something. We were talking, but we were spitballing, or maybe it was David Weatherly, one of our friends. But we were
Right.
talking about it, and we were talking about what he was, what he is. And the theory was postulated on that he could have been a high priest. And of course, he had things that were replicated from him, you
Yeah.
know. And of
Like
course,
smoke
if
drips
you're,
off, and then they create another creature from the
yeah,
sweat.
exactly. And you don't know, like, through the multiverse, how many versions there are or what there could be of one thing. One of the things that I wonder about too, like, if you're okay, let's say for argument's sake there isn't a multiverse, it's just this universe, okay, which
Right.
I believe there is, but let's just say there's not, and then you have Anubis. Now, going back to what you said, let's take it and let's expand upon that. Let's say that there is absolutely just one Anubis, right? The chances are that he could be a shapeshifter, and that is one of the forms he takes, just like a normal, like if a Navajo medicine man can do this, right? Then of
Yes.
course Anubis, having that high technology, he could do that. And that could just be like a suit that he wears.
Uh-huh.
And of course he could belong to an order, like this
Where
jackal-headed order. Yeah.
his genetics can be what, the coding in it, and the reason why Anubis exists, makes his presence known, and his followers, is because he knows. It's kind of like why ETs, extraterrestrials are abducting people. They know that the basis, the foundation, you're going to rebuild your your beings, your creatures. You know, creature A comes here. They blew up their whole planet. They're the only ones left in the race. They have to rebuild the race. Well, it's science class. You know, creature A, creature B, and you know they have the right DNA. And after a while, you know, you'll get part human, part A, some human, human, and just AA. You know, the creature. And eventually you'll breed out the human aspect of it. And now you have this crew. And now these are the beings that are become the Navajos. You know, it's in their bloodline. You're destined to be this. And they oversee it at a distance. They don't need to make their presence known. They're building their minion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Under Fire he says here, I've heard something called thought forms, being able to split up one's spirit into copies of different aspects of themselves. A lot of possibilities, great ideas from the show. Here's what I wanted to say about that. And the thought form. Now, I was reading about a Sufi mystic who absolutely could prove the existence of the jinn, because there were these prayers that you could say in the Hadith of the Quran.
Right.
And this guy, I want to say it was, it was from Qatar originally, but he was actually doing this in Syria. And Syria is sort of like, it's really weird. It's a very biblical place. You hear in the Bible a lot about Syria and Israel, those two in particular. And the guy was practicing this near Damascus, but like I said, I think he was from Qatar, which would have been modern Qatar, which didn't exist. Those are just countries. Right. They were divided up and became countries. But that part of the Arabian Peninsula, whatever, the Levant. And this guy, the Sufi, they study the Hadiths intently, which is very esoteric. It's like the esoteric part of the Quran. Right. And he was able to summon jinn at will, and these beings would appear. And there was one jinn. Now, according to their beliefs, and this goes back, this is before the Islam, before Islam took over and did what it did. There were just Arabs and Bedouins and Berbers and Jewish people. They all lived there. And there was none of this different religion that got in the way. It was just people were people. The Arabs had the belief in the jinn going way back, okay, predating Islam by thousands of years. And they talked about these beings as being the hidden ones. But prior to that, there were these beings called the jinn. Not the jinn, but the jinn. It's two different things. They predated them. They were a civilization that was wiped out before the jinn. But this guy had the ability to summon both. And I can't remember whether it was the jinn or the jinn, but he brought one of them. And these people could sit around and they could ask this being questions. And there was like this green flame or whatever. And I was reading this. And this was like the guy that was Dutch. And it was an old book, and I can't find it. I can't remember the damn name of it, but I read it when I was like in my 20s. And who the hell knows, might not even exist now with the Mandela effect. Yeah. But, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm reading this. But I know a couple of people who've read it. I know David, we were talking about David Will. I know he read it. Yeah. We talked about it. And there was this the entity that was answering questions, and they asked them what was the most important. And this is going back to Under Fire's question. They said, what is the most dangerous of all the entities? He says, this is a very interesting answer coming from one of these beings. What it said was two different things. Angels, the dominant, powerful angel, okay, there is the top tier angel, right? Then there is archons. Very, 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 very powerful. Right. But those are from the legal side of the spirit world, which is interesting that this being says it that way. You know, like there's like this, those are from the order. Like those are like, you know, like in Dungeons and Dragons, you have chaos, you have neutral, and you have. Yeah.
I was just about to use the D&D reference because Demons and Demigods is the book. I actually have it over there, the original, you know, probably worth something these days. But there's a hierarchy.
There is.
And it's a huge hierarchy. Before you even get into, someone mentioned Nephilim, before you can get into even angels or whatever, there's a hierarchy.
There is. Yeah.
And there is an order, and there is. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there's a reason why anything on that darkness, the negative side, they tell you what they're going to do. And if you don't object, silence is approval.
That is. You're right. That's what happens now in
All the
world.
time. All the
Yeah,
time.
because
And
we're shown soft disclosure and we're like, huh, oh, let's keep breathing through our mouths and go, you know.
Yeah,
And you're like, dude, what is
Those
wrong with
Starbucks,
these people?
you know,
You know, the world's on fire. California's on fire. And you're like, well, oh, it's
they're at
crazy. You know,
phones out
back to
taking
eating
pictures.
cheeseburgers or whatever the hell people are doing, you know.
Let's go take some more pictures.
Yeah, right. Somebody's taking a selfie in front of the fire. Look at me, I'm over here at the fire.
Yeah.
Well, see ya. Sucks to be you guys.
Well,
You
they'll
know-
do occult rituals and call it the halftime show.
Yeah, cult rituals at the
And if you
halftime.
say anything, people are like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
art, it's entertainment. You're just being a Bible thumper."
Conspiracy
It's
theorists.
like, dude,
The last
he's
decade,
giving
everything is-
the devil a lap dance on stage. Like, what are you talking about? Art?
Yeah,
Everything has gotten more and more satanic. And it's
satanic is just
thrown in your
marching us
face.
towards it.
Oh
more
my
and
God,
more.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me finish what I was going to say. So
Sorry.
no, don't apologize. You're the guest and good points. But to finish off what I was saying about, thank you, Tony, for posting that.
Yes.
So, you know, the other side of it, though, he says the non-order side, which would be called the chaos side. Now, they didn't say that. And I don't know what the word in Arabic would be for chaos, but it said that basically the non-legal side, the side that has no regulation, there is one being, get this, that is the most powerful being known to man, and that it can actually override any other being. You got to listen to what this guy said. It is unreal. Since then, I've talked to remote viewers. I've talked to psychics. I think I even went over this with the Blondes and Booze before. I've talked about this maybe even with you, Brian. I don't know. We've talked about a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But this being is called a thought form. It is a thought form, and a thought form has no jurisdiction, no legality, nothing controls it. When you give it the human energy from you to create this being, when you create that thought form, it has absolute free will, and it can cause enormous amounts of damage and chaos. It's more powerful than an archon. And the reason that is, for me, now the guy didn't explain, Jan did not explain why that was. It just said that. For me, what I think it is because being that we were built with the spark of God in us, we have that creativeness in us from the Creator. So you're able to create things. Look at everything you can observe, like this hat right here. You can observe. Was at one time, you know, a thought. Yep. Somebody had a thought and said, you know what? I'm going to make wet wipes, you know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make a watch you can wear on your wrist. Everything you could possibly think of, these phones, everything was someone's thought that got put into creation, you know? So when we create these things with the thought, these beings are super duper powerful, very powerful, and they are given free will by us because we created them, just as we were created, and so we are born with that free will because you have that life breath and spark of God. Now, those people that will say we were created by something that God created, that right there is just semantic. It doesn't matter. Because the thought form is created by us, but it still has this ability to do what it wants. And if you aren't strong enough to get it under control, whether you want to call it a tulpa or an egregore, it is the most powerful being spiritually. And so that's what this being said. It said that being that has no governance. There's nothing controlling it, nothing governing it. If you don't control it, it does what it does, and it can gain energy and power, and it can become its own entity. And so that being said, it is the worst. It's the most powerful being, and it comes from a chaotic side. But go ahead, Brian.
Well, it's really interesting because I think humanity has an amazing amount of potential and can be very beyond powerful. The Lord created us in his image and likeness. We are endowed with his, we're not God, but we're endowed with the Father's most of the abilities. Okay. And it's very interesting. You're talking about thought forms, and you have someone in the chat with the name Abracadabra. What I speak, I create. That's what abracadabra means. Okay. This is why when Rosemary Ellen Guiley, a friend of mine, he wrote a book about Jen.
Oh,
He's having interactions with Jen.
The vengeful Jen, the Jen connection.
Yeah. And she was selling books at where we were. And this was really intimate in New York. And I said, "What are you writing the book?" She goes, "Be careful what you wish for." Because what you say, what you speak, that's why they don't want you to say the word Wendigo. What you speak, you create. You give power. You empower. And the more you empower, the bigger and more powerful it is. That's what your thought is. A thought is faster than the speed of light. There is something faster than the speed of light. It's thought.
Yeah.
Think about how powerful that crap is right there.
Yeah.
Right? And then the thought gives birth to whatever will take to create and make thought to the reality. This is why it is the most powerful being. Because at will, once the thought gets the power and it's fed and it gets bigger and stronger and it's lifting the weights and it's doing what, it never stops. It'll just keep going and going and going. Nothing can stop it. And it just, because it was started as an initial thought, I'm going to make a watch, but they don't realize that someone said, okay, and that breeds into another child and another child and another version and another, until someone creates AI, and AI takes over the world and launches nuclear missiles, and we have a thermonuclear event because humans are dangerous.
No, we're very dangerous.
Yeah, we are dangerous.
We're just smart enough to be very dangerous. That is the problem.
And,
I mean,
and I think, like one of the reasons why we have so much fucking potential, but a lot of us don't live up to it. And there is some hope for humanity. Some of them have hope for it. I don't believe in a galactic federation. I'm just going to throw that out at you folks.
Yeah, I don't think that.
There isn't. Everybody's in it for their own.
That's right.
Okay.
I don't believe that there are shifting alliances like Game of Thrones.
Oh,
just
yeah,
like there is in this community. This community is a microcosm of what humanity is, and humanity is a microcosm of what the whole thing is. Warring factions who never really can, opportunistic too. The first chance they get, they jump and they do whatever they do. I've been stabbed in the back more times than I can count.
Me too.
Yeah, we both have. We've talked about this. I mean, it's like as soon as somebody gets the
of the month
opportunity,
yet?
you can't. I mean, like I'm walking around and I have to like hunch over because there's so many arrows in my back, and I'm
Seriously,
like, dude,
I go to PT for it,
dude. I mean, it's crazy. Like like I was talking about the conferences. Two successful conferences. One had over 400 people. The other had over 600 people. Very successful. Anybody that was there can tell you they were big. They were nice. There was a ton of people. And we brought everybody together, and I have not had a moment's peace since the second conference. I started getting attacked the weekend after, and it's just gone on and on and on. It's never ended. They drove Bettina out. She finally she told me the other day, she's like, I have peace now that I'm not in this field. And I said, yeah, and the field is poorer for it.
It is, but that was purposely done. The 7 sins, gluttony, envy, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there are beings, there's reasons, because then we're going back to the thought, you empower them. They don't want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Because you're going to take this and because look at your background. Look at the belief system you have. The faith. They don't want that.
Yeah.
They want the darkness. They want the negative. Because once they control that, once you have the faith, once you know that there's a higher power and it does exist, you can't be controlled. So what they do is they just try to shoot you down in any way, shape, or form. and work you over and keep going. It's like, you know, like when you're in boxing with somebody, right? Go to the, you know, go to the chest, work the body, because eventually you get tired of getting hit in the stomach and your ribs hurt and you can't breathe, you know, and then you get weaker because you're always fighting and you let your guard down and boom, they take you out.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we're losing a ton of people in other ways because it's gotten so dark.
Yeah, it's getting worse too. You know, Ghost Money Clan says nothing comes close to PRT. I'd like to think that, but there are a lot of good shows out there. I was speaking of Rosemary Ellen Galley. I was watching a video the other day on a large channel, and he wasn't saying that this was, but the rumor was, because I never met Rosemary, but I knew a lot of people who did. You and just
Wonderful.
about, you know,
Yeah,
Ken
wonderful.
and Lyle knew her very well, and David knew her. David Weather was good friends with her. I'm very good friends with them, and so I take everybody's word for it. I read so many of her books, and she was somebody I really wanted to talk to before Linda Godfrey had passed away. I was lamenting the fact that was a person that was going to be gone, but that I had never gotten to meet J.C. Johnson. Right. Luckily, I got to meet what's his name, Brenton Solon, before he passed. We had corresponded. We were
great guy.
Out. Yeah, we were going to do a show together, and then he's like, "Hey, man," he messaged me. He's like, "I got cancer."
Yeah, I was talking to him prior.
Yeah, Scott Mardis was another one. I really loved talking to Scott. Great guy.
Rosemary's great. I had her number. You know, she was a friend. I mean, I wasn't like, you know, hey, we didn't always go out, but we were friendly. If I had an issue, I can, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? Because I bounced some stuff off of people that have been through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the situation. Call her. She go, okay, well, I've had something similar. This happened. Look for this. It's what you do.
Yeah, and Bryan, the thing is the show that we're talking about, I'm just going to say it. It was, you know, the Y-Files. But like I said, he was not saying that he believed it. He was saying that she was accused of this. But I think it goes back to people who, it doesn't matter if you're a saint, they'll find a way to besmirch you and make you look terrible. And she was being accused of having been a government shill. And so this guy had saying that that she had taken his work and all this stuff. But I was sitting there going like, you know, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, like, dude, even if she did do that, maybe later in her life, maybe she was told she didn't have a choice. You know, they do that. But she put out a lot of good information about a lot of subjects, and definitely taught me a lot. And when my friend passed away in 2011, he unfortunately took his own life. I was sitting there, and her book about it was a book on demons, an encyclopedia or whatever. Right. It was shit. One about angels, one about demons, but the one about demons was sitting on the coffee table, and I had my foot up on the coffee table, and I looked down, and for some reason I just opened that book, and I opened it directly to one particular demon who really is not a demon. He's an archives of fallen angel. Right. Two different things. And it talked about that particular being the father of marital strife, and he was once obsessed with a woman named Sarah. My friend's wife's name was Sarah, and they were going through all kinds of hell. And it was like this thing was telling me, haha, I did this. This is me, my handiwork. And I really don't like that particular being. I'm not going to say his name. He's the one that Solomon was tricked by into throwing the ring into the sea when he was inebriated, which is why God says don't get drunk. And then it led to Solomon being off on some far-flung journey for 7 years. And then when he returned, no time had passed. And it was like he was taught a lesson, and he was forced to be like a cook for a king and be treated like, you know, not a king. It kind of taught him a lesson. But it was a very interesting thing. It was a book written by her. And the Vengeful Jinn, I think, is a very important book for anybody's library. I have all of those books put away in storage, but that one in particular, it really gives you the down low on what these beings are and what they're about. Because you have to understand that they're not like all bad according to the tradition. They're not necessarily demons, but the ones that are bad, the shaitan, are really bad.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and they absolutely hate us. They despise humans, and they'll do anything they can.
They ruled the ground. They ruled everything. And
Mhm.
when God came in and he said, no, boom, I'm going to make
It was
man.
over just like that. Yeah.
Yep. And I have all these archangels and seraphs and spirit guides, whatever. And then, oh, man's lonely. Let's take some rib out and create a woman for him. Right.
Mhm.
Whoa, man, and they're like, I hate you people. It's
Yeah.
like, and that's why you would get a lot of hauntings too. Think about the concept of a haunting. You go into a house that was somebody else's. They are abruptly eliminated. They're no longer alive. They don't get the express train, either up or bottom. So they're like, get the hell out of my house. But they're in two different. You're here on the earth plane, and they're in the ether plane.
Mhm.
And so now they use whatever. You have jinn that come up there. You go, oh, you want to mess with them? Do this, and they empower these people to do it, and they live off of that energy. I'm telling you, the black-eyed kids and the shadow beings and everything, which really got to prominence in 2009 when Firm Lab went online. I think we talked about this at one point. I believe that the colliders took our timeline and our dimensions and the ones around us, broke it up because they didn't know what the hell they were doing. When we reconnected, we connected it, but there was spaces in there, and these little things creep out because if you look at where all the black-eyed kids are being reported from initially, they're all by universities who all have colliders. Think about that, and all are playing on a smaller scale. So there are cracks everywhere, and it allows the jinn to come in and the negative entities. And these negative entities, while you feel like some people like, I couldn't breathe, I was paralyzed. They love that. That's a food source. It's totally Monsters Inc., but in real life. It's charging your batteries.
They start with the soft disclosure with the children.
Yeah.
When you're a child, that you watch these movies and you're going like, okay, here it is right here in front of me. And you're not understanding what it is that you're dealing with. I mean, if you look at GoBots and Transformers, that's basically preparing you for AI, because you had these sentient robots that really, and even though they could speak like males or females, whatever, they didn't really have any. They were androgynous, just like the angels.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they were like good angels inhabiting the Autobots and bad angels inhabiting the Decepticons. And when you look at the Decepticons, I don't know of too many cartoon bad guys who could be more evil than they were. They were absolutely just horrible. I mean, like, there was nothing good about them at all. And there was a scene when I was a kid, and this is about as far as you could go. G.I. Joe, they would shoot down the Rattlers or the jets and the little parachutes. They'd always have the little parachutes. Nobody ever died, right? They just shoot at each other's feet and nothing. That's what I hated about G.I. Joe. It was like, come on, all these weapons and nobody's dying. Cobra always escapes, but they never die,
Yeah.
That's not how it really works. Terrorism, you get killed. That's what you get, but that's not what happened in G.I. Joe. But Transformers was different because they were considered to be just robots, so they could blast the hell out of each other.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought, like, this is really rough as a kid, there was a scene where the Decepticons had a base underground, right? And so there was a woman in the water. And the water was rising, and the Decepticons were stopping and kind of just as amused as this little insect was about to drown. And once she was in the water and it looked like she had drowned, Megatron just kind of like, he's like, well, show's over, back to work. And he was like, they were mildly amused that she had died. But then it turned out that she didn't actually die. She escaped and then got out into the ocean, whatever. But it was just like, these dudes are evil as hell. There was another one where Starscream had some people, they had attacked the Taj Mahal. And I remember, like, one of them, Skywarp or Thundercrackers, like, I hear the Maharaja's holding an open house. So they tore the roof off of it. They grabbed a bunch of people, took them 1,000 feet in the air, and then dropped them to their death. And they're falling. So then the Autobot jets had to go scramble and save them. Of course, they saved them. But the Decepticons were just like, they didn't care. Like, they tried to kill everybody and everything. And they were here to literally drain the planet of all of our energy and resources. And they did not give two craps whether or not you lived or died. They just, if you're in the way, we'll kill you. And eventually you're all going to die anyway, because we're going to suck all the life force out of your planet and you're going to be dead. That was like, they were the most evil villains. I don't care who you put them up against. They were rotten. But the point is that it's preparing you. It's telling you, like, this is AI. You're going to have demonic entities inside of robot bodies, you know, basically, whatever the robot may be, right? That it's going to inhabit that. And it's, whether it's a Terminator or a Transformer. Now, if you go and you read, like I did back in my 20s, I had a lot of the Dark Horse comics, because at one time they had those were great. They had RoboCop versus Terminator versus Predator. It doesn't get any better than that, right? So and then you had Transformers and Predator fighting, or Transformers and Terminators fighting each other. But it was just black on black. It was evil on evil. It was like, I read a book called Blood Red Snow, and it was about the war in the East between the communists and the Nazis. And you're like, which one's worse? I don't know. Flip a coin and let's see, you know, which one is going to kill you. They both kill you. You know, I mean, the F in communism stands for food, obviously, right? Yeah. And then the Nazis were pretty much like, okay, if you're not this particular person, then you're not, you know, one of us. So it was the war in the East was horrible. It was horrible. And they would kill the people around. The inhabitants would be forced to fight one way or the other. And the communists, I mean, I you know, when I was growing up, I thought the Nazis were the evilest thing ever, but the communists made a damn good case for being pretty damn evil. I mean, after the war, they pretty much finished everything that the Nazis had started.
I mean, you're talking about the communists, you know, cutting off the town that didn't want to follow the leader.
Yeah.
And they cut the town off. They cut the food supply off.
Mm-hmm.
They were so bad by cutting them off that people started to consume their own children.
Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm. That is just...
And then it's mind-blowing.
The Nazis, and you go, I'm just going to throw it out there because it circles back to what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when von Braun was asked, like, where'd you get the help? Because they were this close.
Mm-hmm.
He went, we got help from them. But I don't think it was just extraterrestrial help, because the Fool Society was dealing with...
White Fool Society, yeah.
Yeah, they were dealing with stuff that would, like, you know, it's like Indiana Jones, like what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. They were conjuring up these beings, and, you know, at the end of the war, when it was all over, you know, and the Glock, you know, took off, over 270,000 Nazis disappeared.
Yeah.
Boom. And that's a great food source, fuel source for whatever the other things that we don't see. And I'm like, oh, look at this. We got, you know, come on, bring them over. Oh, you want to play Nazi? Okay, watch what we do with you. You know, rip your head off. You know, some of them, maybe you empower them to become bigger in a different dimension, which affects this dimension, you know, or this timeline.
It's crazy. You know, a good, you know, way to look at it was in Ukraine, which is where the war is at right now. But the Ukrainians had a saying. They were like, "Come, Black Death, save us from the Red Plague." Yeah. Black Death being the Nazis and the Red Plague being the communists, because the Holodomor had happened, and millions and millions of Ukrainians had been starved to death by the communists. And that was how Hitler was able to do what he did. He got into power. We're not going to get into a big political thing here, but what he did, though, he said, one of his speeches, he says, in what could literally be the entire breadbasket of Europe, everyone's starving. Yeah. This is the fruits of communism. That was one of his speeches. And so everybody was like, communism was literally at their doorstep. And so the Weimar Republic was impotent, couldn't do anything. So Germany was going to either go left or right. But I think Hitler was a shill. That's my opinion. I think he should have been tried just like Adolf Eichmann, but I think there was a reason he wasn't. And I think that I think a lot of the poor people were sacrificed by the rich people, which is always what happens.
Oh,
Look at Dresden.
Just
Absolutely a quarter, just taking the Jewish population that was there as a Red Cross center, 250,000 of them were incinerated by the Allies. And you're going like, okay, I thought you were here to save people, but you're not. And then they killed almost, I think, 125,000 prisoners of war. And then they killed another like 600,000 Poles. And so you're going like us, the Allies, the America. It was just really them. It wasn't the French. It was the Americans and the British. And it was Churchill's baby, him and Eisenhower.
right.
They incinerated these people.
Oh, yeah.
And then they said, oh, well, it's the price of war. No, it's not, because it was not strategic at all. And even as evil as Stalin was, I'm sure he would have loved to have been involved in it. But he said, no, we're not going to do that, because he knew that after the war, they were going to blame it on the Russians and said the Russians did that, because the Russians were always the boogeyman scapegoat. So they were going to say the Russians did that. So the Soviets politely declined, and Polish pilots technically did it, but they did it at gunpoint. The British did it at gunpoint. They made them do it.
Yeah.
So, whenever somebody asks me, and I've had somebody ask me this one time, actually at the conference, somebody said, who were the good guys and who were the bad guys in your opinion? I said, there were no good guys or bad guys. There was just bad and more bad.
It depends.
That's what war is. I mean, It's like, and it was black on black, bad on bad. The war in the East was unimaginable. The horrors that went on. It was unbelievable. I have read accounts, one book called Ivan's War, which is from the Soviet perspective. I've read Blood Red Snow. I've read all these different books from both sides and the survivors and what they were doing and what they did and what their high commands were telling them to do. The Soviets, I mean, they were being told to shoot their own people in the back if they turned around to retreat, forcing them to walk into 20 mil. You know what 20 mil does to a human? Those are soft target weapons. They turn you into little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the Germans were rolling them with 20 and 30 mil. They could actually take out the light armor of a tank, but against soft targets, it's a slaughter. And when they turned to try to get cover, the Soviets were shooting them. And you're just going like, golly, the warfare was just unimaginable. It was almost like sport in the West compared to what was going on in the East. The East was just unbelievable. You had two regimes with no regard for life. And it was unbelievable how bad it was. And so I did a show recently, Brian. I don't know, you got to check it out, but it was, what did we name it? The Polish werewolves or the werewolves of Poland?
Yeah, I think
And
werewolves of Poland.
It's a Soviet program that was still in place.
Yeah.
And one of our contacts had told us, hey, he's like, I was in the military here, and I'm telling you that these bases, they're not, he heard me talking about it in Puerto Rico, the bases that are not really bases,
Oh, I know.
where they're doing things. Yeah. And me and Redfern had done a deep dive in that, and I had given him some contacts. And, the people, they don't understand, like, they don't get like how dark these governments are. I mean, there is no good government. People ask me like, well, what is there isn't a good one. I'm telling you right now.
The closest thing to a good government is the creation of the United States of America.
Yeah. The creation.
Initially. The initial.
Yeah. Initially. Yeah.
When
what it's become now, if you move to this lady was talking about, she's from New York. She moved to Costa Rica and she finds out, guess what? You still got to pay taxes to us for the rest of your life. Ha ha ha. Congratulations. You were born in the United States. And her children that are little kids, they're going to have to pay taxes in the United States for the rest of their lives. People don't understand. They don't get they do not understand. They don't grasp it. And people don't know what money is. And people have asked me before, like, what does economics have to do with, paranormal? I said, it has everything to do with everything. Everything is connected to everything. Money is not what you think it is. It's a medium of exchange. You get that word, a medium. See, you're trying to find something, a balance in everything you do, but everything is so unbalanced. And when money causes stress. It stresses your mind. It stresses your soul. I had a nightmare last night about taxes. I'm not even joking. And get this. Here was my nightmare, Brian. I was given a 1099 and I couldn't read it.
Yeah.
I couldn't read it because it was like torn in the middle, and I kept trying to read it, and I kept trying to read it, and I said, I can't pay this because I don't know what this is, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. That was a dream I woke up to today.
Yeah.
Like that's
you know, the bottom line, again, let's in circling back, when I'm going to say this is it's a medium, like you're talking about, you know, the taxes, whatever, but it's all about control.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's good and evil of the control. And when evil wants, they really want to control.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, where God, I'm just going to go with the religious end, and I'm not trying to preach here, but I'm saying what was the teachings that were coming out, you know, from the old to the new is like, don't believe that guy. Don't be controlled by that guy or that guy or that guy, because you have a direct access to the source, and you go through me. I'm his son, and you know, I'm guarantee you'll be getting, you know, I'm not asking you for anything. Just be a good person, you know, like that kind of thing. And they lost control. It's all control. Jinn, control. Shadow people, control.
Yeah.
Reptilians, control. You know, you can go on and on. It's all about control. Because once people realize that they can't be controlled, it's game over. This place will be amazing. And it won't be boring either. You know, it won't be like, no, we can only wear one color, we can only do this, and we can only,
Which if you notice the architecture of communism, that's the name of the game. Everybody, they would get on to you and I because I'm wearing this and you're wearing that, and they're like, "Why are y'all not in uniform?" You know. Of course, me and you would be in the dungeon together. I mean, we don't agree with their policies because obviously
you get me some Cheetos while you're out.
Hey, you notice our husky frames. We like food. Yeah. And communism doesn't allow for food.
Oh, no.
And I've told people this before, and they don't like it. But what was going on here, what we were headed for, was communism. I mean, and it's a type of weird melding of fascist, sociotocracy, corporatocracy, kind of all rolled together into this unappetizing burrito of insanity. But it's really communism because, you know, when you become president and you issue 47 executive orders in 48 hours, what are you doing?
Right.
I mean, that's exactly what they did. And they were just like, Trump did all this other blah, 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 blah. Really, you undid everything in the first 48 hours. So how can you blame him for what you just did? I mean, all of it.
Another form of control, and just understand the concept here. There is no way in hell, and I'm not trying to be political, but there's no way in hell this country, United States, can have a digital currency and switch totally to digital. The reason why they want it is, if you look at what happens, we're going back to the East, China. Mm-hmm. My niece came back. This is a couple of years ago. She goes, "Oh, it's so great there. They have this one app and it controls this and it's wonderful and whatever." I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
You know, her grandfather, my former father-in-law, he came from Hungary. I don't know if he was on the Buddha side or the Pesh side, because it was once separate. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he was like, "Are you crazy?
You lived on the Iron Curtain."
Right. The reason why they want electric vehicles, the reason why they
can shut it all down.
Is, like, we're having this conversation right now. Josh and I would go on our phones like, crap, can you go out and get milk? Because I'm not going to be able to do it for a couple of weeks. That's what they're doing.
Your social credit score just went down because
sucks.
Comrade Mao, you said something about Mao.
What was it like last week? I haven't really been posting anything on TikTok whatsoever, but I did, like, when North Carolina was happening. I said, look into this shit. This is BS. There are people dying here. This is controlled, whatever it was. I just retweeted or whatever they do, reposted. I woke like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, your account has been permanently banned. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's nauseating.
no, it's a sort. So I just started another one. You can do that, but it's like, you don't see my youngest was playing Roadblocks with her friend.
Mhm.
I mean, this is when she was 10 years old, 9 years old. And I've gotten banned like numerous times on social media. Like I've gotten put in those timeouts, and she's freaking out. We're at one of our mutual friend in the family's house, and she's going, somebody hacked my account. And I looked in and I said, oh, no, somebody didn't hack it, honey. You got a timeout. You got banned. What? And she was joking with her friend, said, I'm going to burn you. They're playing a burning whatever it is, Roadblocks. Just them. So they took that as a threat against someone's life. And she's crying and upset. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you, honey. Welcome to the family. So now both my daughters have been banned numerous times. The younger one that I raised, like, she's on her like 25th TikTok account because for whatever reason. But it's like, I'm proud. Good. Lead by example. 1 by land, 2 by sea. Let's go.
Yeah, and folks, if you're in any doubt at all that Sir Bryan Bowden here is joking, I've known this guy for many years, and he is straight up like, he says things, and it's pretty wild. Like, people will be like, oh wow, whatever, but like I've noticed, like you kind of like say things cryptically, and I get it. Some people don't. Yeah, you can't, because if you say too much, then you'll be in trouble. Well, now they got Data, or as I call him, Data, or the Zuckerberg over there, and he's over there like, now he's a good guy. Now he's going to be on our side and allow free speech. Before that, yeah, exactly. Before that, he was like, they're like, so you're against free speech, and he's like, yeah, whatever it takes, whatever makes Chairman Mao happy. Now that the winds have blown the other way, now he's cool. You can say what you want now.
No,
but if that doesn't tell you which side was clogging up free speech, and somebody had asked me how I came to be the way I am, I said I like freedom.
Yeah, I do.
I'm a fan of freedom. I mean, what's wrong with that? I mean, maybe you don't. I mean, I'm the guy that likes freedom. You must be the other guy.
Yeah, it's a God-given right, and the reason why he's playing ball right now, that Jerry curled MF Zuckerberg, whose company Meta looks like a ball sack. Okay, if you notice Meta's logo looks like a ball sack.
Yeah,
like a ball sack.
Well, and look at Amazon's logo. It looks like the smiley face. It's like, obviously, why would the smile be on one side? Come on, dude.
Just like when my daughter's like, oh, Lululemon, I'm like, who has an IUD as a logo? But he's scared because he knows they're coming for him. So he has to now play ball, but the guy's not really playing ball. They're going to try to bide their time for 4 years. But I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't do a huge dive into on 2025. It ain't going to just be for 4 years. The whole world is resetting, and we're going to get to a point. See, this is where the good happens. That's why all this bad stuff's going to start happening, because the evil, the negative stuff, like what we were just talking about, all these different creatures and beings that corrupt people. Come on, do the satanic ritual, listen to Taylor Swift, whatever it is.
Be a Chiefs fan.
Who's doing witchcraft at her show. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out at you.
Yeah.
You can listen to her, whatever you want. Really weird, right? They're going to go for broke. I'm not saying it's over officially. God came back and said, oh, no, I'm done with this crap. And it's going to be 4 years, and then 8 years, and then 12 years. And we're not going to be doing this. I've seen this. I do this year was really, really rough. I didn't do my full remote view in October and in August that I normally do, 0 to 18 months. But for 5 years prior to that, I saw it. I saw things taking place. I saw the conflict in Canada, and people fighting, and Americans fighting with Canadians to take back their country with, whatever. And I'm telling you, I came into a one point and I'm like, I'm in a market. I'm literally in a market. Like you would go to like a flea market, or a farmer's market. And I'm like, Everybody's got guns. You know, they all have the long rifles over their shoulders, young and old. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm in Israel because that's where I've always seen it. Like, you know, a lot of those people in Israel, they have their firearms with them. And I just knew I was in the US. We're going to get to a point where we're not playing games anymore as citizens. We're not going to have the gangbangers. We're not going to have the people committing crimes or people taking advantage of the pet. We're done with the justice. We're going to dispense it immediately. We're done with you. Either get with the program and everybody works and does well with brothers and sisters, or you're going to be eliminated. That was the whole premise of why everybody has one.
That's what you saw as a remote view?
I saw it 5 different times, 5 different years, at different angles. I saw it once in the South. It starts actually down in the South, and from Texas to Florida. This is where we're talking about. And it eventually, it becomes the law of the land. Nobody will ever take that away from you whatsoever. And it spreads. It's not just the US that gives birth or that thought of, no, we're done with you. We don't need you leaders. You know, the people that are robbing us, like, you know, you have to go and get the, you know, but we don't. No. Bye. And everybody starts going on the up and up. And it's not goody two shoes. It's just doing the right thing. You know, do it right or don't do it at all. And we've gotten tired of it. We're tired of all the BS. You know, I don't think Canada will be getting invaded, Barry, but I think Canada's going to take their crap back. They're done.
Yeah, they need to. Now that Castro's son has stepped down.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you think that by the time that happens, what do you think the social order of things is going to be like? I mean, because like the first thing I would think was that rather than have like a united republic like we have now, that things are going to break down into like city states, kind of like how the Greeks, you know, had.
Yeah, it's going to be totally different, and I'm telling you, the more I see it, I know it's coming. But here's another problem we have. Sounds crazy. We've been jumping back and forth, good and evil, in different timelines, different paths. I've seen it. I just had this conversation prior to coming on the show. I have a new car, fairly new. Got it in June. I drive, but I don't drive that much. And about 6,000 miles went on my car, and I didn't drive 6,000 miles. It was like I just got, and I have to do a service, and I'm like, I just did this less than a month ago. What the hell's going on?
Did you notice that? Because that happened to me recently. Like not the same thing, but like I noticed a huge jump in the miles on one of my vehicles that I haven't been using much. And I was like, what in the heck? And it's been sitting there. I see it there. Another thing too, like I've noticed, and people pay attention to what we're talking about. If you don't believe this,
really important,
dude, you could walk outside and your vehicle, because I have a strong memory. I mean, obviously if you watch the show, you know, and people have given me their stories, they know, you know, you can see the vehicle looks a certain way, and then the next day or two you'll see it and it looks different, and you're like, whoa, that's bizarre. But what they're so used to everybody just having this short-term memory thing where you just kind of like just go, oh well, you shrug it off and just go with it. And literally from one of my trucks being in a driveway and having something that was parked behind it, and all of a sudden, what was that?
Something behind me fell.
But there was this weird like little dent that was like right here on the top part of the bumper, then down here, and I don't even know how it could have gotten 2 different spots or what it was. And so I asked my wife, I said, did you notice that? How did that happen? We hadn't even driven it at that point for that to happen. And she was like, oh my gosh. And so here's another weird thing. Somebody actually ran into my Explorer the other day at the gym. And then 2 days later, like my wife had just went out and rubbed it, and it was just like dust.
Yep.
But I can promise you, I felt deep scratches on it. Like there were grooves. And then all of a sudden it was gone. And I'm like, what? is going on here? I don't know, man. You know, it's you know, just that's just the vehicle thing. Like you brought that up. I noticed
Right.
that.
So something is interesting when that whatever happened, because there's nothing moving. I'm on a rock solid like foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I did see is, and you can talk to Krista and Brandy because it was on the show. There's going to be a lot more weird anomalies, and I said it. The Fae are going to come out, fairies, elementals, interdimensionals, other beings, and some part of it, the psychic that I'm very good friends with, like a sister to me. She even warned me. She goes, "There are going to be these beings that are interdimensional, and they're very nasty, and these things are just going to start coming out because they know that their time is coming to an end."
Oh yeah.
So we just got a puppy, you know, like he's 17, 18 weeks old. And yeah, the puppies get nervous, right? I had a bull terrier, like, you know, Spuds McKenzie or whatever.
Yeah, I remember.
But I couldn't get that for this round. So had a foo-foo dog. There was the cost of a low-end staccato, if you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't go into battery and the ammo stuff, you know. I know because I sit out on my back patio, lanai, whatever, all the time. I spend most of my time doing my work outside. I want to be outside. And I know there's something around my property. I ward my property and I ward everybody in my house and my cars. And I know something's in the dark, and this damn thing is seeing it. And to the point where today I was walking them, you know, we have a common area in my complex. You know, everybody has little homes, but there's a common area. So I walked them over towards the canal and I found a print back there. It shouldn't be there, but it's a handprint, and it's a massive handprint. So either I've got a Bigfoot or I've got something interdimensional, which I think can be interdimensional there. And the fact that something moved, I mean, there's no way I didn't touch anything that was behind me. So I'm kind of interesting. I'm going to be going checking the video when it's over, from the 2-hour and 20-minute mark till about 2:24, and I want to see, you know, I'm looking something maybe in my room with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened a couple of times before, but I don't care. You know, I don't care. I'm, you know, I got protection of God with me.
Yeah.
So, but I want to see what it is. You know,
Sometimes whenever people give me stories, something will happen. You know, I'll hear stuff and I'll be like, "What was that?" I'd say more than a handful of times I've talked to people and I've heard a voice speak, you know, and I'll think it's a spouse or you know, somebody, and I'll be like, what was that?" And they'll, because I usually ask, because sometimes you get some weird answers and they're like, nobody, I'm here alone. And I'm like, well, somebody just spoke. I heard it.
a lot of interviews that I've conducted myself or I've been a part of, like, you know, they're interviewing me, and my buddy Al, you know, when we used to do it, almost every one of them will get EVPs on it, and you'll get orbs and you'll get weird stuff. I don't know why, or maybe because we're touching on certain subjects, or we hit that magic word, but there's nothing behind me that should have fallen, you know, and there's no way. I mean, I could jump up and down in this room, nothing's going to move on that floor, concrete. So that's why I'm hopefully I'll find something and like watch PRT and crazy crap happens, you know. Go to the round
Somebody
table.
just said this. I've heard this a lot,
World's
and I'd
upside
love
down.
to say it's true, but I don't remember this. But Paranormal Roundtable had first 75,000 subscribers where I was at. Now it's less than half. That's weird. Somebody told me and Anthony that the other day. We were telling them about the show, and they looked at it, and they're like, "Yeah, I know you guys." And they went and they're like, "I'm going to show you." They were. It was a waiter. He was trying to show us that he was already subscribed, and he was like, "I thought you guys had like 60,000." So I said, "No, we don't. We're approaching 40." But and he was.
No, I mean, I thought at one point you were closer to the 100,000 mark.
Yeah, a lot of people say
mean, like,
that.
No, I mean, like I've always said, I remember when you were at 5 and 10,
Yeah,
and you went to 20, and then like you started kicking and you were putting stuff. I'm like, wow, he's gonna get one of those silver, you know,
yeah.
YouTube buttons that are useless. and meaningless. But
Well, people buy their subs. So the difference,
Right.
though, Brian, let me tell you this. When
I
we
mean-
do get to that magic mark or whatever, the 100,000, whatever it is, I will know that I can look in the mirror and say, we earned it. We did it correctly. We didn't use fake stories. We didn't, tell a bunch of whatever. And then we didn't buy views. We didn't buy likes or comments. And we
Right.
damn sure didn't buy subs. So
You
that
did it
is
right,
why
though.
people don't understand, like, whenever they mess with PRT, they get the horns, and we're not ordering people to go do anything. We have a
Yeah.
very strong and rabid fan base because we've built it ourselves through hard work and dedication and bringing people the real. And I'm proud of that. And I know that when
You
I
should
have
be
100,000 subs,
damn
it's going to
proud
be a
of it.
lot different than most people's 100,000 subs, because most of their subs
Yeah.
are probably fake, you know?
Well, I mean, like, I was a co-host on a couple of shows. They asked me to come on. I was a guest, and then they made me a co-host. And I started back up another show Wednesdays, like from 8 to 9, called Third Eye Live. I just run it through my YouTube. I'm tired of having a New York State UFO project, New York State Sasquatch, mystery this one. I don't want to run around. And I said from day one, when you did it, and I've always said this to you, publicly and privately, you do it right. You do the whole thing right. The look,
Well, I
the
appreciate
feel.
that.
Look at, like how you present, yourself and everybody there. It's professionally done. The feed going up with the comments. I mean, you offer great content. First of all, your shit. So you're like the encyclopedia and knowledge source. People love hearing the stories, and you get the right people coming in. You've always done it right. You deserve the 100,000. You deserve 1 million people coming in.
I appreciate that, Brian.
Yeah, you know what? And the best way, when you do it this way, and I know it's been tough, especially for you and the fam, it tastes better. And you know how it's done. This is how a successful program starts. Like Joe Rogan, everybody's like, "Oh, I want to be like Joe Rogan." I'm like, "No, be yourself." There's already a Joe Rogan. We don't want 100,000 copies of him. But he started off with I do comedy and acting every once in a while. I'm going to talk to some people, because he didn't care. Just do it. Go out and do it. You may not have all the best guests initially, but you did it. You got the right people. You got the support from day one, and God bless you. You and the missus and everybody else that's there. Everybody that's a fan. I just can't watch 4 or 5 hour podcasts anymore. I got 2 daughters. I gotta hold on, honey. They're gonna reveal the aliens right now. And there's one's older, 17, the other one's 13, and the 13-year-old, who I thought's my ride and die, she will cut me. She'll love you. I'm like, sorry, Daddy.
Wow.
You're not missing that recital.
Yeah, no.
We just, right now, as the show is going, we just hit 39,000.
There you go.
So we got another
40.
1,000 to hit 40. But yeah, it just, and of course, being in perpetual war for the last year and a half has not helped.
No, it doesn't. But you know what?
It's like,
consider it a sorbet for,
yeah.
Consider it a sorbet. I mean, right now it sucks because when I was doing the Bronx Paranormal Society, we had a lot of people. We were over the 1,000 mark, and it was going good. And then, that stopped. And then we did the New York State UFO, and I wish I could scrape from all these and say, well, I built them. They're all mine. I'm the one that created the social aspect of it. Can I just take them back and just put them to my channel? Because, I wasn't really using my channel. I didn't want to start one up for Third Eye Live. I'm just like, no, I want to be me. Just like Josh is Josh. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody sees Josh and Anthony and Nelly and like, oh, PRT, but you're still who you are. It's good to have a brand though, but I want to be, I'm not here to sell you anything or buy anything. I'm here to get you to do research though. Like I told you before, whenever I have evidence, I throw it all up unedited. I want you to go find it, because I'm going to be sitting there for a couple hours doing it, but maybe you'll catch something and you say, hey, I caught this. Okay, cool. Send it to me here. And I'm like, wow, I missed that. Right. So yeah, people are gonna hate.
Well, you definitely do your research, man. That's something that I can always expect from you. And you're always a pleasure to talk to, Brian. I mean, every time you've been on a show with me, we've been on other shows together too. It's going to be a good show because, like you said, I know my shit, you know
Right.
yours.
Oh,
So
I do, and I'm not trying to come off as a know-it-all. I just know. I know what it is. And the more you start doing this stuff and the more you get deeper into it, like the study of it, not that you're doing ritual or I am, and you work on that goodness, that light area over there, the more you get, I always talk to people about remote viewing and stuff. How do you do it? Like everybody can do it. It's a gift.
Yeah.
And the more you use it, it's kind of like when you were a little kid, 2-pound weights were pretty heavy, right? But if you start doing 2-pound weights for a couple of months and then it gets lighter, so then you put an extra pound, so now you're at 3, and then you say, what does 6 feel like? By the time you're finished with it, you're not only remote viewing, but you're unlocking your abilities, God-gifted abilities, which happen to be psychic for a lot of things. So just do it. But I always live by this rule number 1, fuck what they think. That's my rule. I posted it. I'm probably going to get banned on Facebook, but
Yeah, well, join the club. I've had to be, in trouble so many times. I've had people just threaten my life, and then when I say something back, and then you're like, "Oh, you're in trouble," And so here's the sad thing. I had to say this the other day. You were talking about the conference. You're going to go to the Blondes and Boozers conference. I can't go, and folks, I'm going to tell you the absolute truth is because of death threats. And so I'm not going to the conference. I had to pull out because I've had so many people messaging me. I don't know if it's the same people doing it, but these people who are doing this, they're absolutely insane. We think we figured out one of them. He literally threatened my life on another guy's show. He called up and said the most horrible things, that he was going to do things to my wife. He was going to hang me and burn me and kill me and all this other stuff. He said all this crap. We have it recorded. It was on Spiritual Encrypted Encounters with AMC. As a guy said that.
Yeah.
And so they have been very disruptive, but those threats, we have to take them seriously. I have a pretty good idea who the guy is now. He's the same person that threatened Hellbent Holler. He also threatened a couple other people, but he turned his attention to us. And what they're trying to do was he kept saying this one particular guy's name. I think they're trying to make me and that person fight. So they think that, but I figured it out. This guy's coming from this other channel that's been basically making fake sock accounts for a long time. That's what they do.
Yep.
And they think that by throwing rocks at us, it's going to destroy us. Yeah. You're even if you were to win, all you would do is deprive the community of another source of information. But I think, looking back on all of this, that's what the goal is, because this person has slipped up and said his boss wants him to say this or that. And I'm like, your boss? He doesn't have a job. So somebody is pulling this guy's strings, telling him, orchestrating this,
There's an underlying person that is now branching out and using other shills. To do it. I mean, like last year before the summer started, my life was threatened. My head was threatened to be cut off by a Palestinian person.
Yeah, and
I didn't say anything bad about that. There's another person, but
you can't say, you're going to offend somebody at some point, but this is like, it's getting to the point where, now I can't go, whatever. So I had to go to this symposium in San Antonio, which I really don't want to do. It's nothing against Ron Edwards or Ken or Rod Nichols. Nothing again. I love those guys. They're great guys. I know these people have been threatening my life, so it's going to be interesting to see. I have to have security, but security can only do so much. If somebody wants to kill you, they're going to kill you. There's nothing you can.
It's better safe than sorry, but and it's also like, just saying, be careful who when this is just in general. There's a lot of people that aren't careful enough and thoughtful. Like, you think you know somebody because you see them on YouTube or whatever.
Hmm.
You have no idea who they know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
talk about the dark side and the light side of whatever. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I've already, for me personally, I don't want to die. I want to be here for my kids. I'm not afraid to. And when you have somebody that just doesn't care, that's the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not boasting or whatever it is. But I also, when I got threatened by that, I've got friends all over. So I told a couple of people, one of which was Interpol, and another one that was
Hmm.
connected somebody who is actually in country at the time. And he's like, you have a picture? I'm like, yeah, got a picture. He goes, that guy won't be bothering you. And imagine that he stopped. It's just like, it's just what it is. Like, one of my buddies was getting threatened by two guys, men in black type of scenario, because we were talking about Bigfoot, and they said no, stick to they pulled him over and they threatened, like, well, you'll lose your retirement. It'll be sad if they find some child porn in your computer at home. So he got him unnerved, and he's a tough guy.
Hmm.
And he came up to me the day later, and he goes, this is what they told me, and they said, yeah, keep your friend also, Mr. Wonderful, like whatever we know about him too. I said, okay. So I'm hearing it secondhand from him. So I immediately contacted people that work in agencies, told them what was going on, told them what happened, and they said, yeah, we'll take a look. Never got contacted by anybody.
Jen here, she says definitely sue them. The problem with that, Jen, is that they don't work and they don't own anything. So you can't get anything. One of them was bragging, saying, well, they gave us cease and desist, and we did. And they burned them on YouTube, and they ignored them, and they continued the crazy behavior. And they said, oh, well, the reason that the cease and desist didn't work is because they didn't have anything on us. That's not true, because a lawyer cannot make one of those if he doesn't see proof of you doing it. It becomes a
Right.
legal document. So the lawyer could be in trouble if he just willy-nilly. That lawyer was very adamant that he wanted proof, and so we gave it to him of the harassment. So then he went forward with these.
Right.
They went so far as to claim that the lawyer was disbarred, which wasn't true. They went so far as to burn them on camera because somebody was stupid enough to tell them to do that. That's going to look real good in front of a judge. That's a very dumb thing to do. And the only reason that we didn't go after them is because it cost a ton of money, and you're not going to get anything out of it because they don't have anything, because they don't freaking work.
Yep.
So the best thing we can do is sit back and hope that these people are stupid enough to try to sue us, which they're saying they're going to do, because then we will absolutely destroy them. And then it's all going to come out, everything that they're doing. So we have now, and I'm going to announce this publicly, we are pulling our money together, and we are going to hire private investigators who specialize in cybercrime, so that we can unmask these people, and we can, because we've already almost put together the accounts, not completely, but pretty close. We have the pieces in place. We know who's who and which ones are playing with what accounts, because they make tons of fake accounts. And so this has been a whack-a-mole, and it's been nerve-wracking, but eventually it's going to fall into place, and they can sit there and beat their chest with bravado all day long. You can scream, that you're right until your eyes bleed. It doesn't make it true. The
Right.
fact of the matter is that we are not trolling them. We don't go and troll them. I went to their channel one time recently to ask them to tell the truth, and I did it with my own account, and they quickly blocked and deleted and got me out of there. And I said, you know what, this is pointless. You're not going to get anything out of these people. They don't play fair. They don't play by the rules. I do. I don't make fake accounts. They can look at all of my stuff and see, and I don't have time for it. And
Yeah.
but these people, they do. They have a lot of time on their hands, and they can sit there and do whatever I do. I do it with as myself. But these people, they have plenty of time to do all this silliness, and so what's going to happen is that they are going to be exposed for all of these different fake accounts because they're all linked. And once one of them goes, and another one's going to go, and so a good cyber PI can do that, but it costs money. It does cost money. And right now,
Yeah.
money's not growing on trees. I have a lot of things that I got to take care of financially, but I have several people now who are stepping up and who want to put an end to this. And they've gotten attacked, and they're like, hey, let's just put our money together and
Smart
we'll
move.
be able to get rid of this situation. And so they only have a small echo chamber of morons that believe their bullshit. But the problem is those people are crazy, and they have openly talked about killing me on there. They have literally talked about it, Brian. I'm telling you.
No, I
And
know. I see things and I
yeah,
hear
it's
things.
insane. So now I can't go to conferences. I've been asked to go. I've had to turn down 2 different conferences and then a speaking engagement because they're going to kill me, and they have people saying they're going to do this, and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Why? What was your problem with me to begin with? The only thing that I can think of to begin with, their problem was that they weren't me. That's it. I can't figure out anything else because they want to be, somebody who does whatever. But you have to be ambitious, and you have to have the ambition and the will to feed it. And they don't. They don't. You
Tenacity.
can't roll out of bed at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
and do a show at 8 o'clock and think that you're going to get. Takes a lot
Can't
of
keep
research.
smoking weed and think you can have a conversation with people.
It's exactly right. That's what they do. And so you're sitting here and you're like, dude, they could, if they put the time, energy, and effort, but then there's still the one hurdle of low intellect. And I'm not being cute or funny. I'm not trying to be a joke here. I'm being serious. You have to have a brain power. And so,
Yeah.
maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you should go and, like on Tombstone, maybe poker's not your game, Ike.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.
Definitely not a spelling contest either, because you can't spell. So, go and do something else with yourself. Stop blaming everyone else for your damn problems. Stop trying to fleece people for money, because that's what these channels do. Stop grifting. Stop being frauds. And if you can't come up with people who can give you stories, information, they can't memorize it anyway. They don't have the power, the brain power, and you can't get them to come on your show and talk about it, then go and do something else. But then that would require them working, and they don't want to do that.
So one of the things you can do is, you could bring the suit against them and then win. And they have no money, but what you can say is, we're doing this so to have them cease and desist from being able to use a computer.
Yeah.
Or computer transmission, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can't. And if they continue to do so because a leopard doesn't change its spots,
yeah,
we want them arrested otherwise. And then they go to jail.
And them being out of state is another hurdle we're going to have to figure out, because I don't want to have to drive up and down, back and forth. And so getting a lawyer from here to do it over there. So I'm going to have to get a lawyer from over there to go and do this. So, but it's going to happen, because these people, they absolutely have shown that they will not stop. And they back each other up with their ridiculousness. And so if they had any sense at all, they would be telling each other to knock it off, but they're not going to. It's never going to happen. So eventually it's going to come to a head. We have to deal with it. And I think it's imperative that we do it sooner or later before one of them does something stupid and tries to kill someone. And at the same time, they're claiming they're being threatened. By who? I'm not threatening you. They throw my name into everything. Every time something happens, this guy did this, and JT. And like, JT didn't do shit. I'm not telling you I'm going to kill you. I've never said that.
Right.
But
it's
whatever.
I don't envy the task you have, but I do wish you and everybody well. And I think put a lead on their trailer.
That was a funny one there. But I appreciate you being a friend, Bryan. I'm gonna let you run because I know you got things to do.
Yep. Sorry, everybody, but thanks for having me on, man.
Check the cameras though, and let us know if
I'm going to.
somebody.
I'm going to
what
see
that
if
was.
there's an anomaly, or because I've had that before, and sometimes it looks like that predator crap.
Mhm.
And it's not my camera's fair. It's consistent. It doesn't go in and out. It doesn't fade. I'm not using an alternative plugin, but yeah, we'll go see, and yeah, put a lead on their trailer.
I just, one of the things that's so unfortunate that Bettina left the field, and I hope she returns.
I love Bettina. She's great.
She needs to return. I tried talking to her, and she came on the show the other day, and she did a great job.
Yep.
And she was on with Chris Kramer, and I thought that they both were awesome, and I wish that she would consider returning. But she says, she found peace with these people out of her life because they're not really messing with her now. But she knows that if she did come back, they'd probably just go right back and start messing with her again.
Yeah, they'll give you a hard time. This is a better path for her, and she's great. So I wish her the best always. Actually, I was the one that set her up with StreamYard. So I got her off the cell phone. I'm like, you deserve to be doing something better than a cell phone. She goes, I can do that. And I said, you know how many people I set up on shows in the podcast? Fairly successful. And I don't ever ask for anything, but a lot of them never even had me on as a guest. I'm like, wow. But this is what we talk about, right, Josh?
Yeah.
Is it the 15th of the month? I'm waiting for my back to get stabbed. I'm just, I just go by the philosophy of George Washington. God bless the pessimists. They bring extra ammo. And I'll tell all you people out there, exercise your rights, especially that, and keep your powder dry.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll see you. Thanks for coming on, Bryan. You be safe. Bryan Bowden, everyone. Sir Bryan Bowden. I'll see you.
Appreciate you, Bryan.
Take it easy.
All right.
Bye.
Good night. So that's Bryan Bowden. Good friend of mine. Bowden's been there for me for a long time. One of the many, many friends we have. Now, let me just make sure people understand this in this community. We have a lot of friends, a lot of people that we are friends with. There is a handful of miscreants that do what they do. Now, unfortunately, they've made things hard for people, and there are people who want me to do another conference. I can't do that. This all popped off after that second conference, and and I agree with what Abe and Bettina had said, that they infiltrated during that second conference. They were doing it during the first conference. They were already after Bettina. They had a thing called Project Downfall, which turned into like Operation Downfall or something. And I was told by many people in this community that they had reached out to them. So if you think that we're playing games here and we're just making this up, that is not the case at all. And I said the absolute truth tonight of why we don't go out and sue them and whatever, because, they don't have anything. But they can sue us, and then we can countersue, and it would be a lot. It's a lot easier, because when you sue, you have to have the impetus is all on you. They were talking about suing, and I was like, please do. Let's get this party started so that we can be vindicated and get this over with. Because
it's kind of hard when you're in the middle of your own court battle.
Yeah, and so I think it's crazy that Amy Krill says PRT conferences were legendary. They were, and we were planning on doing it every year. Gerhard had reached out to me last year, and he was like, "What are we doing here? Are we going to do something?" And I told him, I said, "No, I'm not going to. I don't want to be killed. I was being threatened." Literally, one of their people, and I'm going to tell you this, he's one of their people. He came out and he threatened, right there on Abe's show, and said he was going to do horrible things to my wife, which involved SA, if you know what that means, and that he was going to remove her head. He was going to do it to me. He was going to burn us. It was horrible. The things this guy said, these things, and we have reason to believe that he may be related to one of them. Now, we may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And the things that this guy said, and they were able to convince one of my friends to turn against us. I believe they sort of played us, and I'm very disappointed in that friend for taking the bait and and going at me the way he did and accusing me the way he did. I didn't do and say the things these people say I didn't. They've made up horrible lies. They claim that I hang out at a homosexual club downtown. I don't hang out in any clubs, and I'm not a homosexual. I don't have anything against those people that do those, whatever, those bars, scenes, whatever they do. That's their choice. They can do what they want. But it's not me. It's not my thing. And I'm very outspoken. If I was that way, I'd be that way. I wouldn't be hiding and sneaking around doing this bullshit. Okay. They've made so many horrible claims. The things that they have said against us is just beyond the pale. I can't even tell you, I don't know. I mean, it's
been a wild ride.
Yeah, we have had hell. So we have had to tighten things up. You can't comment unless you're a subscriber, which is something that people need to do. If you have a channel and you want people to not attack you, you're going to have to make it to where they can't mess with you. They have to be a subscriber. If you want this whole situation to go away, I'm talking about from me, my perspective, you're going to pay a lot of money. And right now, I don't have that kind of money. Doing things for my family and getting things situated with our living situation, everything was way more important. Putting a bunch of money into my business, insurance is just ungodly
Ridiculous.
expensive. It is so ridiculous. So we just don't have the money, the funds to go after these people. And yeah, you can get a judgment against them, but they know as well as I do that they have nothing. And then they want to sit back and say that we're not doing it because we have no proof. We have tons of proof. If you want to know and you're interested in hearing our side of what's going on, just go to PRT News or go to SCE News, which is Spiritual Cryptid Encounters News, because they literally go in and they troll Abe's channel every night. Abe has been on the front lines, having to discuss it and talk about it. He can't even talk about the paranormal anymore. He's just defending and fighting these people on his channel. I wish he would stop. And I'm going to say this only because I'm not telling you not to defend yourself, but they are distracting and they are taking away from what this man has to say. And I do believe he has a very strong spiritual ability, and it needs to be being used for what, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
one thing that you, Abe, and Bryan have in common that I've noticed is that it's not just the information on the topics that y'all have, because I mean, like that's difficult enough. Like that requires its own amount of time. It's its own skill set to be informed on one specific topic and to be able to talk about it. But y'all don't just bring that to the table. Y'all have information that is related, and so y'all can go off on these tangents on related subjects, and then bring it back to the original subject and tie it in and explain this is why this matters. This is why like y'all are able to interlink all these different ideas, and that I think that intimidates people and makes them feel like there's like a intellectual insecurity that people have when someone like that speaks. Trump, I love him or hate him, he does the same thing. Like when he tells a story or he's expressing something, he'll go off on a tangent and then he'll bring it back and tie it in, and like perceptive people know what that is, and they can make the connection. They'll put two and two together. Dumb people, it makes them mad that they can't keep up. Like, they don't realize what's going on. They can't visualize the structure of like either a storytelling or the way information is being presented. Like there's a structure that it has that that you like I said, Bryan and Abe, the way y'all present it, it makes it clear and easy to understand. It confuses dumb people, but people who are of middling intelligence, and they're insecure about it, and it makes them hate y'all. At least that's what I think. It just boils down to jealousy. Like, I'm not as smart as this person's. When they speak, they make me feel inferior on something that I'm interested in, so I hate them. So, I mean, it's not a coincidence. Bryan's gotten death threats. You've gotten death threats. Abe's gotten death threats. Trump, same thing. Bunch of death threats. Try to kill him. It's just people have this. It's like they love to kill people, to kill or hate people who are telling them things that they need to hear, but a lot of times those things are things that they don't want to hear, things that are difficult to hear. Like, for example, again, Abe, Wolf, and Bryan all look at this Dogman thing from a spiritual perspective, and that they even came out of the whole camp of it's a flesh and blood undiscovered species. They moved on from that to this is a spiritual creature or interdimensional creature. It's more than just an animal. There's something more to this here. And if you notice, like, the opposite never happens. Like, no one ever goes from, I believe this is a spiritual creature, interdimensional creature, to a physical flesh and blood animal. That never happens. You can't show me one person, not one person, who changed their mind from spiritual to flesh and blood. It doesn't happen because smart people don't do that. It's just, there's a lot of things y'all have in common, and y'all are all hated. There were repeating themes here. I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the things you got to look at when it comes to this whole arena, the first war, and I'm going to tell you this, audience, the first war that happened was it. It was people being attacked for claiming that this thing was a spiritual entity. And I stood up. And the first time I stood up alone. I didn't have anybody to help me. And my co-host at the time, he bounced. He was just like, I didn't sign up for this. He goes, there's too much strife in this community. He goes, good luck to you, brother. There's a lot of problems here. And these people are never going to give you what you want. And what, he knows, Armando knows, or he did. He knew what I wanted was to bring people together. And the thing is, they've tried to accuse me of trying to bring everyone together under my control. I don't want that. It's hard enough trying to control 20-something workers. You think I'd want to control an entire community? No. Everybody has their own right to have their own opinion and have their own whatever. We don't need somebody to be the emperor, okay? I was never the case. I was never trying to do that. These people, they infiltrated, and they since the conference, we were all together and united like this at the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dang. We were all together and united at the conference. And now everybody's divided and at each other's throats and whatever. And they want to blame me. Let me give you a brief rundown of how this went down. They attacked my friends. And so I responded and I said, you're not going to attack my people, which was Abe and Bettina and a couple other channels, with Jerry and Ella Williams and Helbin Holler. And I said, you're not going to attack my people and I'm going to sit back passively. And this moron, he got on the phone with his mother, okay, with this particular thing, and tried to tell me that he was okay with me, but he was still going to go after them. And I said, no, That can't happen. That cannot happen. Shan Bay said, "Did I miss the stories?" Okay, well, the show's 3 hours and we're at the end of it. So um, get Shan Bay out of here. Are you being serious? Are you trying to talk funny? You're being cute, you know? So whatever. I don't know who that person is. I've never seen them before. Please boot them. So, and this is how we do things here. We're not tolerating any weirdo that I've never seen before coming in here saying things. So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown. This is what happened. Okay. And I stood up and I said, no. Now, other people, I believe, in my opinion, should have stood up and said something at that point, but they didn't. The reason that they didn't was because at the drop of a hat, the first chance they got, they turned like turncoats that they are and joined in those people. But I should have saw it coming because those same people had always sat back and watched people tear us apart and never did anything. They never did anything. One of them, I call him the roofer. He never did anything. He didn't lift a finger when those people were attacking us and attacking us and attacking us. And then he did an about face and decided to join with them. Now he's always in their chat. The reason he never lifted a finger to help us is because he was secretly on their side the whole time. This was a concerted effort by them. Okay. And I'm being told now by a lot of people who've been paying attention, to this whole thing, that this was all orchestrated from Jump Street. And then it went back to the first conference. They were not happy about the first conference. There were people that were there at my first conference who were acting like they were angry, I know what they did and said. I had conversations with everyone in this community. Bryan, Bowden, Jody Cook, Nick Valenti, Ken and Lyle, David, that's anybody in this community. And everybody had a piece of information for me. I didn't need the information. I already had it, but I needed confirmation for the information that it was real, that it was true. And these people have proceeded to tear this community apart. The reason this is important, and this is at the end of the show. I'm not taking up time for the show. If you don't like this, go. But it's important that you know that we did something for this community. I love this community. And to see what they did, what they've done. Why? Unless you got in trouble and they're paying you or they're forcing you to do this, why on God's green earth would you do this? Why? I never did anything to you. I never did anything to you for you to do this to us. Now, as of late, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've said some things. Yeah. Yeah. And I've made fun. I've got on there and did skits and made jokes and whatever. Because what else can I do? I can't physically hurt you. And I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to say I'm going to do that because that's what you want me to do. You want me to say something. They go, yeah, look, he said something. And their little goofy ass 2-point IQ can run and go and get me in trouble, and show the community that I'm this and I'm that. They say they have recordings of me saying all this and that. Yeah, because we had a peace treaty at one time. I say play it. Play it all from beginning to end. Don't stop it at certain points to hide what you're saying. Play everything in its entirety. Get it all out there. The more you play, the better for me. And you know that. And you're not going to do that. You're going to pick it apart like you always do. And you're going to take everything out of context because that's what you are. You're all evil. You do bad things. And you take things out of context and you attack people. So what I wish is that they could play it all and I could explain to you every bit of it. You think that by playing that, it's going to turn everyone's opinion against me and they're going to come after me? I've said this before and I'll say it again. The people don't tune in. This is not the drama channel that you want it to be. People don't tune in for that bullshit. Now, have I been embroiled in conflicts with people? You bet I have, because I didn't take their shit from the beginning. This pack of people, these physical dogman people that came from an atheist camp and were attacking people for being Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They actually told me, like, oh, we're okay with you, but we're going to go after. And there again, that was at the beginning. And what did I say, Anthony? No.
Yeah.
You're not going to attack people. And then I sit back and then you want me to help you grow your page?
Yeah, there's always been this hostility from the flesh and blood camp against the whole idea of cryptids being spiritual, interdimensional. But the opposite is not true. Like there's not really hostility from people who think like us to their camp. Like we're just not even paying attention to them, because it's like, why? What your input is not, like, you don't have anything to say because we don't care, you know. But they're like jumping up and down and screaming, it's flesh and blood, you bunch of idiots, you know. Because that's what started, or that was like towards the very beginning of the show. That's like some of the first hostility that we noticed, you know, is from that flesh and blood camp. So
I did not have to fight that war. My wife was in the hospital at that time, and it was bad. I asked them, I pleaded with those people to stop. I said, can you please stop? I just wanted to leave your group. I didn't want to have this. They wanted me to go back in the group. This is what they told me. They wanted me to go back in the group and apologize and say I was wrong. And I'm like, I'm wrong because I think you attack. And this is what I told them. I said, yeah, I think you attack Christians, women, and anybody who doesn't believe like you, especially people who don't believe with flesh and blood. Everybody has a right to believe how they want. You don't have to be a Christian, but you don't have to attack people. And so I refused to do that. And they just relentlessly tore me down. Now imagine what I was going through at that time. This was 2019, and I was working at a place that was very violent and dangerous. And I was literally being attacked 24/7 by this pack. There were 6 of them, and they were just on me constantly. And it was just me. No offense to you, Anthony, or Tony, or anybody else, but nobody helped me. Nobody. I had no one. Armando did it first, and then it just took its toll, and he just said, to hell with this. I don't want to be in. And once he kind of backed off, it slowed down a little bit, then they started back up. And eventually, Nellie, I kept trying to keep her out of it, but she started fighting for me, and she did something. And it was not good. I said, I don't want my wife involved in this. She's in the hospital. Can you please stop? Please leave her out of it. And they wouldn't. So I had to defend the innocent people from a complex. It was full of bad people. And then at the same time, I was constantly being trolled and attacked online. And then I had to do the show. You can imagine how stressful that was, how bad it was. It was horrible. And it was like, and at that point I was beating my head against the wall, just like, why am I doing this? I'm going to quit. This is bullshit. Armando's right. We need to just quit. This community is toxic. His words, not putting words in the mouth of a dead man. Did he not say that?
Mm-hmm.
That this is a toxic community filled with toxic people, and he didn't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, he wanted to bow out. Really
I was angry with him. Not going to lie. I said, you're going to leave me here? And he says, you're my friend. You're my brother. He's like, get out. He goes, it's not worth it. He goes, all we want to do is bring people together and tell people's encounters. And these people are just vile. They're rotten, evil people. Some of them are still around. They're now in that other camp over there doing what they're doing, trying to get their revenge still. Revenge for what? because I did not agree with you. And I asked, hey, I'm just going to leave this group. And I said I could do it quietly, but they would not let that happen. They started attacking me aggressively. One of them is a guy called the Dogman Whisperer, and he just was like one of the main. Those people were rotten, horrible people. They said the worst possible things they could possibly say. They made up the worst lies, and in the end, one of their channels fell. And he had a bigger channel than me at that time. And I'm not going to lie, he got his ass whooped and he left. And everybody was like resentful toward me. Well, not everybody, the small cabal of shit asses. And then it just went from there. The thing that happened with Vic, I can tell you this very clearly. I'm going to say this again. Vic did not attack my mother. Okay. They keep saying Vic never attacked his mother. No, he didn't.
Never said he did.
I never said he did. Let's be clear on what he did. All he did was say that I did not like him and he doesn't care. Don't go over there and mess with him or attack him. And I'm like, where the F, what are you talking about? What I said on my channel in jest was that I didn't think he liked me anymore because he hadn't talked to me in a while. And then I got trolled into oblivion. And now looking back on it, I'm pretty sure that a couple of those trolls were probably, there was just a few of them, and they were using multiple accounts. And it could be these people that are doing it now. I think they were trolling me since back then. I've had several people tell me they think that the same names were popping up. So they were instrumental in that big mess. Right? And Dark Waters was on my side in that because he had problems with Vic. And now, contrary to popular belief, Vic has had a lot of tiffs with people. People think that, oh, he's a good guy, never fights with anybody. I'm not saying he's a good guy. He's not a good guy. I'm saying he's been embroiled in some conflicts, but he's able to just kind of, slide by it, get it, whatever, and I don't do that. Yes, at one time, DW was on my side. He even dropped a disc track, and my name was thrown in there. The thing with Marvin was a spinoff from the fight with Vic. But that brought me and Marvin into friendship because those people from that first war that attacked the Christians and especially females, and I don't know what their deal was, but anyway, other than they wanted to be flesh and blood, Marvin was being messed with and manipulated, and we showed him, and Bettina stepped in, and she was instrumental in exposing David from Texas as one of those people, and a few other people, and she showed Marvin, and she sat me and Marvin down and said, look, stop this. And so me and Marvin became friends, and we've been friends ever since. We've never had another crossword between us, right?
Yeah.
So there was that. Now I was friends with a guy named Ryan. I'm not even going to say his last name. He was angry as hell because I chose to make peace with Marvin. When you make peace with people, other people get mad. And he threw a temper tantrum. Why did I quit being friends with him? Why? I really don't even want to say it here. Let's just say that he has a penchant for abuse toward people. All right. And we have screenshots and voice recordings and to that effect. And I'm just like, I heard enough. I'm good. I don't want to be a part of this. Now, at that time, one of the females that's involved in the attacking of me now, she heard every bit of it. She knows every bit of that story. But she also was instrumental in slandering Bettina. This person's a busybody. Her name starts with a D. And it rhymes with Ana. Okay? And she is a problem. She does things that are not correct. Okay? And so, this person, they're a malcontent that's going to jump into anything they can to cause issues and problems. I denounced her a long time ago because I told her she was a troublemaker because David from Texas had started a thing between me and Abe. That's how me and Abe got into it. And Abe has admitted it, that these people, they played him. They've been at this for a long time. They never really gave up. They just kind of evolved and became something else. What's happening now is the second part to the war with the Filthy Five. And the Filthy Five being 5 people who joined in in a war that started with a guy from Oklahoma we call Ike. And you know you're listening right now because that's all you do is you obsessively watch me and you obsessively watch and troll Abe. You can't troll us because we have moderators in here and you have to be subscribed to troll us. Isn't that right, you little weasel? So anyways, he started the war after the second conference, but it began before that. He used the cryptid huntress. And now looking back on it, I've tried to talk to her and tell her, look, it was a mistake. He played us because he was going into our groups and saying that I stand with Jessica and all this boots on the ground crap. And I thought it was her doing it, but it was him pretending. At least that's what I believe, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Me and her got into it because of that. But it's always going back to this guy, his bullshit. Who like I said, I think he's been doing it since the Vic days. So it's not me fighting all these different people for no reason. It's just one leads into the next. It doesn't end. And people like him keep it going. So what happened with this guy? What does he do? Right? He, out of the blue, he gets Dark Waters to join in and starts supporting him. While he's bashing me on camera, my supposed friend goes over there and starts donating money to him. Now, I messaged him and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And then I got a threat. And I'm like, what is this? You're going to destroy me? I'm like, what for what? And I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, look at this. This is ridiculous. And that drugged 2 or 3 other people in. The next thing you know, we're fighting with these guys. Another one was D.A. Roberts. I thought he was my friend. He was at my first conference, but he was acting strange. And of course, he started showing up in their chats and whatever. He was a diehard flesh and blood guy. But I guess when it comes to getting me out of the way, it doesn't matter. As long as they get rid of me, they're willing to work together and put their differences aside because some of their beliefs run opposite of one another, which didn't make sense to me why they would all be on the same team. But like I said, if they could get me and destroy me and get me out of the way, then mission accomplished. It starts to look like there is a concerted effort there from these people because somebody's getting paid. I'm not saying it's some amazing conspiracy, whatever. I'm not saying the Pope is behind it. He's too busy worshiping Pachamama. But go look it up. You don't know who that is. But, you're sitting here and you're just doing your show. You're doing what you got to do. And these people are constantly trying to scheme and come up with ways to get rid of you. Anybody who can put that much time, effort, and energy into hating someone and trying to destroy them, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be something behind this. And so we have been, kind of on the trail of this, getting really close to the truth of what this is, because this is a big deal. A big deal, not as in it's a bigger deal in your life, but it's a lot bigger than it's a conspiracy, and it has been for a long time. And they love to do the whole, whatever they're doing, they say you're doing it. Oh, you committed a conspiracy. You kidnapped my child. No, it didn't. It had nothing to do with that. And you know that. So anyway, that's the rundown. If you just bringing you up to speed, the snake that used to be the Roger from the LBL, he's another one. He's a troll. He's a snake. He was threatening Barton Unley and all this other crap, and I defended him. And now they're on the same team somehow, and with this guy. Like I said, as long as they can work together to get rid of me, that's all that matters, right? And then this other fool, this the one that talks like he's Hispanic but can't speak any, that dude, Fluffy, he brought his ass in and started trying to create problems between me and Maddie and Anthony, and it didn't work. And so, you know, and a week before that, Roofer had called Anthony and tried to, you know, these people were conspiring and doing all of this. They were already doing this. They were mixing it all together. And, you know, they're still doing it. It won't stop. But what we've decided here is we're not going to let it affect the integrity of the show. We're not going to like let it interfere with, like, we're not going to start the show talking about these people and let it take up hours of our time. Like Maddie said here, these people are obsessed. And they're obsessed with me. They're obsessed with anybody who's associated with the show. And so, you know, that is in a nutshell what's going on, you know. And so many people have been messaging and asking me what this is. And of course, a lot of people are upset, you know. And just to clear, I want to clear my name, you know, and tell you this is not me trying to wage war on these people, dude. That is not the case. These people have created that sort of lie or whatever. What do you want to call it? Narrative. But that's not the case. We are not going to them. We are not trolls. We don't make fake accounts and go after them. We're not going to their channels or whatever. We just want to just leave us the heck alone. That's all we want. That's it. And instead, we get this bullcrap. Cielo Azul says, why do you give them attention? Normally we don't, but have you watched and seen what they've done to Abe? Have you seen what they do? Just ignore. Simple. Okay, when I was on a show, I'm going to say this again, okay, Cielo, since I don't think you're getting it, or you may be a troll yourself, I don't know. But I'm going to say this again. I was on another person's show, and the guy called up and threatened to kill me on air. Okay? We've turned this information over to the police. We have turned them in. We've given him his name. He also did this to 2 other YouTubers that we know of. To no avail. So if you want me to ignore people when these people literally have hundreds of fake accounts and they just attack. They create groups where they talk about killing me. It's a deranged, crazy, obsessive, whatever. And it's easy for you to sit back and say, ignore it, but yet I can't go to conferences. I can't do a conference. I have to watch my back. How do you think you would live your life? How do you think that would make you feel? When we quit the show for 5 weeks, and we had no plans on coming back. I've told you what happened, how we came back. We quit. It didn't bring us peace. They did not leave us alone. They did not stop. It just kept going. It was just like business as usual. Like they just kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on. And I thought, so now we don't have the show or a voice to do or say anything, but yet we're still getting attacked. If they would have, I've said this before, if they would have stopped when we said we're done, we quit, if they would have stopped and left us alone, then this would be over with. And I would have stayed gone. And I've seen them argue amongst themselves about it too. How, you know, they're like, well, we should have done, you know, whatever, because you didn't, you know, whatever. Yeah, I know. You know that you did this because you didn't stop. Because one of them in particular, one of the ringleaders, he can't stop. He can't. He's been doing this to people for years. And he's obsessed with it. It's like whack-a-troll. He can't, I promise you, he can't stop. He's got to do this to people. This is what he does. He lives for this crap. And so it'll probably never end. It'll never stop. So there you go. If you weren't aware of what's happening, there you are. You're up to speed, whatever. But a lot of people in this community have seen it. And they can sit there and cry foul and make up lies about what's going on all they want. Doesn't make it true. The proof is right there. Go to PRT News. Everything they're doing and saying has been documented. Nellie did a very good job of documenting it. And that's it. And CLO says, just ignore. Yes, we are trying to do that. Okay. But sometimes you have to say what's going on. So anyway, that's what's happening. That's the rundown. You know, they made a show filled with hate on, was it Tuesday? We went and we did an impromptu cryptid show and just said, you know what, this is what we do. You do that and you have fun talking about me and say my name, whatever. I'm just going to do our show and do what makes us PRT. So what we got coming up on Sunday. So we talked a little bit about this, right? We're gonna get into Sunday's show is going to be good because what we're going to talk about the dogman phenomena. I mean, it's always been kind of our
wheelhouse.
Yeah, wheelhouse. And so, you know, I think that what we need to do is do another show, you know, centered around that, but not 100% around that, based on that or whatever. Jen, if you don't know who they are, I'm not. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into it because some of them I don't want to wake them up and make them start again. Let's just please move on. So we have different options of what direction we can take it. What we talked about earlier on the show with Bryan, something went behind the vehicle when I was sitting in it in the driveway. Now, here recently, some people from our camp have been attacked, and they have said that they think it's witchcraft. I'm not going to say that because I don't know. I don't know who it is, and I don't know what it is. I just know that it's there, and it showed up recently where we're at. It's like it found us. Nothing was happening, and then all of a sudden, for me anyway, now it's boom. I think that, KD7, that's not a bad idea. I was just thinking about that the other day. There are people who have done some things that defy logic, almost like superhuman. That is weird. But we have some dogman stories that we can do.
What was the name of that Bruce Willis movie? Oh, Unbreakable.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was a cool concept.
I'm trying to remember the ones that we got that I was looking at earlier, so I can go back and pull those.
Well, like of accounts of people with superhuman.
No, I'm talking about the ones from Sunday.
Oh,
besides the ones the ones that we talked about with Bryan.
mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But anyway, I wanted to give you a little preview, but I don't know exactly what we're going to do yet. I hope that we can, I don't know. You know, we're going to get some good stuff out there. I know that I'll be chastised and whatever for talking about this crap or whatever. And there's nothing, but I just needed to tell you because some people were kind of wondering. I was getting private messages too. Bryan has seen what's happened. I mean, you know, he reached out to me early on and was like, "I'm sorry, this is happening to you." They have tried to make it to where people won't work with us. That they make it so uncomfortable for people who work with us that they won't want to, and it's not working. Okay, it's not going to work ever. None of your efforts are ever going to work. It's not. Okay, and so you're just going to be relegated to the realm of obscurity, like all the rest of these people that had nothing in their lives but hating me and my cohorts. So that's it. Head Trip says, "Dear Heavenly Father, Holy Spirit, and Son, the Jesus Christ, Jesus the Christ, we ask for your mighty protection with the fiery sword of our Archangel Michael's love and protection for the Turner family and friends. Amen." Amen. Thank you. Exactly. Abracadabra says, you'll be fine, brother. All you got to do is give good content and treat people respectfully and let them fall into the hole they created for themselves. That's it. That's all we got to do. I'm not going to jail. If I do, it's not for that. It's not for messing with them because I don't mess with them. And I'm not going over there messing with them. You know, all I wanted for them was to give me a fair shake and say the truth. I tell the truth. Why can't you? Because it hurts. Sometimes I have to tell the truth about myself, and it hurts. I got to say, I've done things too. I've retaliated and said things, mean things back to them. I've made skits making fun of them. I admit that. And they ask the question, would I stand before a judge and say, hell yeah, I will. And I'll tell them, yeah, judge, what would you have me do? Would you rather me make skits and joke or whatever, or would you rather me do something really bad? Because I think that it's a pretty clear choice. You could do something really stupid and off kilter, or you can just joke and laugh about it. What are we supposed to do? And honestly, a lot of these people are so, they're so ridiculous. Like, what can you do but laugh at these people? That's all you can do. I mean, they're just so stupid. The things that they come up with, you know, like, oh, he's got a rash and, you know, he smells bad. And, you know, like, never had a rash down there in my life, dude. It sounds like something you would know about, though. Sounds like you're well versed with that. So good luck with that. Hope you get some calamine lotion or whatever it is you need. That's going to work. But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff they come up with is just so ridiculous, you know. And trying to pit people against each other. That's what a lot of people do, though. Because if you notice, like, one of the stories we're going to talk about is I want to tell the story of the pale crawler manipulating the two crawlers. I think it was two of them. No, maybe it was one. I got to go back and look. But they were manipulating one of these dog men, and it was doing all kinds of erratic crap.
Yeah, like puppeteering them.
Puppeteering it, yeah. So there's another one like that I want to. Oh, there's no bag in there. I just threw it on. I'm sorry. But it's yeah. That's one of the stories we wanted to go over. Another one, the girl that had the family where she lived out in the swamp. And seeing these creatures, I mean, that was if I could get in touch with her tomorrow and break it down, at least tell the first part of it, because she said there's a lot of material to go over because her family practiced. I wouldn't even call it Satanism. It was a very specific form of. She had a name for it, and it was like I can't remember what she called it, but I got to go and look. But yeah, I mean, it's she witnessed things for like 20 years.
Dang.
When she finally left her family, she was in her late 20s, and she read at a third grade level.
Wow.
She was very ignorant. Her IQ was like 89.
Oh, man, she never had a chance.
She had to learn things, and she had never seen an escalator, had never been in an elevator. They kept her just like a subordinate, like a slave.
It's like that movie, The Village.
I've never seen it, but I think that the premise of it, isn't it M. Shamalama Ding Dong,
yeah.
whatever his name is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this woman had this crazy, whatever go on in her life. And I was just like, God, that's horrible. She's like my age now, but she was 20. Well, she wasn't early. She was 26, so mid 20s. She leaves. And so, like I said, I met this person from somebody I talked to at the gym. And that person said, look, I'm going to get you in touch with someone and they can give you a bunch of stuff. And it was just somebody I met in passing at Planet Fitness. It wasn't last night. It was the last, whatever. But they came through and I talk to this person, and she's like very just, I don't know how you could say it. It like talking to this person, she just talks very matter of fact. She's not like a storyteller. It was a dark and stormy night. Let me tell you what happened. No, she was just like, what I'm going to tell you. She talked like that. She kind of has a Cajun type of accent, but she says, what I'm going to tell you, you may not believe it. She goes, and I don't care if you believe it or not, but this is what happened to me. I can't tell you what happened to other people. I know what me and my brothers and sisters saw, and this is the truth. And she talked like that. And she said, I don't know you. I've only seen one of your episodes of your show, and it sounded good. But it was funny. Where were we at? We were at Juice Land last night, and the girl was like, I know you.
Yeah.
So we got recognized last night, and there were some people in there, and I got to talk to some different people, and they were pleased as punch that I was in their store. And I was like, that's cool. They were really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. The girl says somebody was wearing one of our shirts, which we need to get on the ball and get these shirts out to people.
Yeah.
So do we have the hoodies?
Yeah, we got some.
Okay.
We'll grab 'em.
So I got a surprise for you guys. You're going to like this. But anyway, I think that a lot of these, what's going on is people are trying to stop us for whatever reason, whether they're working for someone or whatever their reasoning is. I can fill this up. It worked. They want to stop us because we're telling things that they don't want people knowing. So maybe they are working for somebody. Do we need the light on?
You can see the colors better with the light on.
Okay. Well, it looks weird. It's kind of like a yellow in the middle there.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you can turn the light on. It doesn't matter. I'm not hiding nothing. So this is the gray and the black one. It's a little wrinkled, but you can get it, wash it. Don't wear any of these shirts. Don't wear any shirt. Don't wear any undergarments, any pants or socks or anything unless you wash it, because they put formaldehyde on these clothing. I'm not joking, folks. So don't ever just buy something off the rack and wear it. Trust me. Okay. The people in charge, they don't give a shit whether you live or die. Trust me. Okay. So that's the gray one with the black. What do you think of that? I don't know. The only thing I would change if it was me, and I didn't make this call. Anthony did, because he's wrong. But I think we should have not put this part right here. Mm-hmm. We just have the logo and then Paranormal Roundtable. Or should we do the bottom? I don't know. What do you think? You did it, so what was your reasoning? And this is the original, and still the best. Like, that's the original logo, but this is the second logo that came out like real quickly after the first one. Both trademarked, and that's the original colors right there. Of this one here. The original color of that one is orange. It's like an orange logo. But this is yeah. So I just said, you know what? Back to the basics, right? On this one. So those are the hoodies. So tune in Sunday, because we're giving away 3 hoodies on Sunday. But tonight we're going to do a giveaway for the shirts. If your name is in green, you can win a shirt. Just tell us you haven't won. We're going to pick somebody. I'm trying to get everybody's names and stuff together to put on here so that early next week. But there's supposed to be a really, really hard freeze with like sleet and snow, ice, all kinds of crap on Tuesday. So we might not be able to do it until later in the week. But hopefully next week for sure we'll have the mail-offs done. Somebody says, I really like the gray hoodie. Another one says, I like the black and red. So, hey, Spooktator Bob, how you doing? Pablo 55 says, I have not won yet. Okay, so Pablo, you win tonight from our camo shirt giveaway that we're still giving those shirts away. Anybody else? We're going to give you 1 minute because we got to jump off here. I got to go to work. Glad to see you still around, Bob. Okay, so there you go. Shinobito Mine says, I'm new and I haven't won before. Okay, well, then you just won. Summerside of Life says, I would buy a hoodie with the orange, but on December 31st, I was terminated from my job. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Have a safe night at work, Josh. Summerside, have you ever won? There's the information. Read what Madeline said there.
If you were chosen for tonight's giveaway, please send your YouTube.
I meant for the people.
Oh,
You
okay.
can read it. You can read it if you want.
I was in the middle of it before I was rudely
Sorry.
interrupted.
Excuse me. Sorry.
As I was saying, if you were chosen for tonight's giveaway, please send your YouTube handle, full name, and shirt size and mailing address to joshturner@prtpodcast.com.
In order to win, your name has to be in green, and I'd love to just give it to anybody, but it's not fair to the people who actually are in green, and I've been chastised for that a few times. YouTube made this whole membership thing, and people started buying it, and I didn't even know what it was. And people, literally, I'm not joking, people started buying this membership, and the name started turning green. I don't know what the hell was going on. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm ignorant, don't even know what the hell's going on my show, but I didn't. And I was like, what is that? And Anthony and them were like, him and Tony told me, so that's a membership. And I'm like, well, we already have a Patreon. We don't need that. And I said, well, it's there and people are going to do it. So it's a $5 or whatever. So we decided to do it as a giveaway. So you can become a member and you can enter to win the giveaway, which we do every episode, right? We love to give stuff away. But we, what was I going to say? Oh, the Patreon. We have these tumblers. We just had them ordered. They're going to get made. If you are a Patreon member, you will get one automatically, no matter what tier. Yeah, you will get a tumbler. Well, you have to be a member for 2 months, and then you'll get one. And
it comes with your swag bag.
It'll come with your swag bag. If you've already gotten your swag bag, then when you get your next swag bag, which will be, you get one after 6 months. So 4 months later, you'll get another swag bag. We got a couple people who've already gotten their second tier swag bag. And more are showing up because they stayed the course. So if you're on the Patreon, put the link to the Patreon. Patreon is the best way to support the show. I can't tell you how important it is to the show and to the growth of it. And we're going to do Patreon only shows. Now, we don't put material content behind a paywall, but we're going to do these things where we have like discussions about anything you want to talk about. And it's only for Patreon members because we have to do something for our Patreon members because they help keep us going. We don't get a lot of donations anymore, so the Patreon is more important than ever. Something going on? Dick Richards says, I've never gotten a swag bag from Patreon. Are you a Patreon member? Because if you are, then we owe you a swag bag. It's up to you guys to let us know, hey, man, it's been 60 days. Hey, man, it's been 6 months, whatever. And to get your stuff. You've been a Patreon member for years and never gotten one, Dick. Are you up in Canada? I believe you are. And we'll still send it to you because a Patreon member is a Patreon member. Just make sure you send me your information so I can send it to you. Dick, I could have sworn I remember sending you something. Are you dicking with me, man? So send me your information. We'll send it to you. We'll get it out to you. Yeah, Lawrence is right. The best way to donate is PayPal. You get the money. Great. So it's something not good going on right now. Here we go. On a quiz and a chat. Okay. All right. That's fine. So anyways, that's what's going on. Sunday, we're going to be doing the giveaways on the hoodies. All right. So In fact, probably not. Well, maybe not Sunday because we're gonna finish up the giveaways on this on Sunday, and then we're gonna do the mail off. After the mail off next week, just going forward, we will be giving away the hoodies. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Uh, uh Shinobito Mind, where do we send our info? Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. Let me put the banner on there. Send your paranormal experiences to Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com right there. So what you'll do is you'll send me your information and your shirt size, your mailing address and your shirt size. Yes, Andres, it'll be for people who past winners and people who haven't won. Okay, when we do the hoodies, so you can get a chance at winning a hoodie, even if you have a regular one. We'll do a quick, hey, if you haven't won, tell us, and then after that, it's just going to be first come, first serve. So if you've already won, you could win again because we're going to do one real quick. Hey, if you haven't won, first one that says that, and then after that, it's open season. All right, so that's how we're going to do it. Jen, no, I didn't say not to send donations through YouTube. It's just that if somebody would put the PayPal link up there, that'd be great. You could send it through PayPal directly, or you could send it through YouTube. You could just make a donation on YouTube. It doesn't matter. Do whatever it is that you feel is best. If you can, do it. If you can, don't. Betsy says she won. What did you win, Betsy? Betsy, waiting on you. Says you can, Jen. YouTube takes 30%. Yep, they do. But you can do it however you want to do it. Doesn't matter. T-shirt, key fob, and other stuff. Cool. Glad that you won. And did you like the stuff you got? I hope you did. Folks, I got to run. I really got to get going here. And yeah. I want to finish up my work early so I can hit the gym. I got legs tonight. It's leg day, and I don't want to skip leg day. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who's donated and helped make the show what it is. Dick Richard says, what happened to the nice lady constantly sent us it? Probably like everybody else, hurting for money, man. You can't depend on one or two people. They can't carry the show. It seems like if somebody does that, then nobody else donates. You're like, oh, well, so they got it. Then it's good. And, but the truth is it costs money to make the show. We're spending a lot of money to do this. The hoodies were, I think that those two batches of hoodies cost $1,800. So, I mean, it's not a cheap venture to do this at all. If you want to do it and do it right and make people happy. Now, if you're just doing it as a grifter or a fraudster or just to steal people's money, you can do that easy. That's what people do. That's what a lot of these people do. That's why they don't like me, because I was the first one that started saying, hey, go to Social Blade and take a look. I got some real hate when I did that. That's when people come out of the woodwork coming at me. Why would you tell people that? Why wouldn't you? Unless you have something to hide. Why wouldn't you tell people to do that? That's the correct thing to do, right? See if they're telling the truth and their numbers are real. You can see how large the PRT family is with almost 40,000 members, right? Look at our numbers compared to someone else who has this big channel, but then they do a live stream and they get like 100 people, right? Or you don't really see or hear them being very vocal on any of the groups. It's because their numbers aren't real. That's why. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but there are a lot of them that are. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making Paranormal Roundtable what it is. You're the audience. Sunday is going to be good. Trust me, it's going to be good. It's always good. But check it out.